Chapter 876. I don't know his full name, but I think his nickname is something like Xiao Yi, and he doesn't look right," said the skinny guy after some thought. "That's good, as long as it's not Xiao Chen." Red Hair let out a sigh of relief. He was no longer nervous and leaned back on the sofa. He pointed at the two men in black suits and introduced them. "These two are ninja masters from Japan. They're very strong, equivalent to a stage 5 inner force martial artist. It'll be a piece of cake for them to deal with that girl and the Youtiao guy." Red Hair didn't know much about practitioners. He thought that stage 5 inner force was already very strong, which was why he was so confident and fearless. "Huh. These two masters are martial artists. Nice to meet you, brother." "Nice to meet you." The skinny guy looked at them with admiration. He was even worse than Red Hair. He didn't even know what a martial artist was. All he knew was that they were much stronger than ordinary people. Since there were martial artists helping him, he didn't have to be afraid anymore. The Bun girl only knew a little martial arts. As for the Youtiao guy, he only had a bit more strength. How could he be compared to a martial artist? At the thought of this, the squinted skinny man was so excited that he even straightened his back. Not bad. How about this? I'll bring 2 masters with me tomorrow to help you get revenge. It's getting late now. Let's eat first, and then we'll go to the dreamland to have some fun later. We'll also find a few young models to welcome the 2 experts." The red-haired man waved his hand and said straightforwardly. Ever since he started following Yorishima Kishio, Red Hair had secretly earned quite a lot of money. Gradually, he felt that he had stepped into the upper class of the mafia society. The way he did things also began to move in the direction that he thought was classy. "Alright, I'll listen to Big Brother Red Hair." The squint-eyed skinny man nodded like he was pounding garlic. He was so happy that flowers were about to bloom. He thought to himself that he did not follow the wrong boss. The tall man did not come today. It was a big loss. After everyone drank and toasted to their heart's content, they drove to the dreamland of Wonderland and played until late at night before returning home. The next morning, Red Hair and Skinny swaggered to the morning market street. The skinny man originally wanted to find trouble with fried dough sticks first, but after a few steps, he felt that the girl was easier to deal with. He was going to use this easygoing person as a practice target. "That's them." The squint-eyed skinny man came to Miss Xing's stall and sneered, "Big Brother Red Hair, Little Gao and I were injured by this couple. They even robbed us of the tens of thousands of dollars that we've been collecting these days." The squinting skinny man was prepared to demand an exorbitant price. Since the couple would be beaten up by their boss, they had to hand it over no matter how much they demanded. "Alright, got it." Red Hair snapped his fingers and swaggered over. With a bang, he kicked the entire stall over. The pancakes and meat buns were scattered all over the floor. The pot of porridge on the side also splashed all over Xing Qianxue and Ling Qianxue. The stall owner who was working saw that the situation wasn't good and immediately ran away. These people were obviously here to cause trouble. There was no need for him to get involved. He didn't know if the couple could control them. If he got implicated and got beaten up, he would be in trouble. Red Hair's target today was Miss Xing Qianxue and her husband. Thus, the stall owner was too lazy to chase after them. He crossed his arms and leisurely stood in front of his stall. "Are you crazy? Do you want to die?" Miss Xing, who was caught off guard and was splashed all over, roared angrily. "Watch your mouth. Our big brother Red Hair isn't someone you can mess with." The squint-eyed skinny man immediately stood up and shouted with his nose in the air. Miss Xing saw the squint-eyed skinny man and tall man standing behind Red Hair. Only then did she understand that they were here to cause trouble. She couldn't help but get angry. "It's you 2 bastards again. If I knew earlier, I would've let my wife beat you to death. This has nothing to do with you." Scram! At this time, one of the ninjas behind Red Hair stood up and pushed Miss Xing away, causing her to stumble. The other one walked in front of Ling Qianxue and sized her up. With a smile that didn't reach his eyes, he said, "Hee hee, little girl, you're quite pretty. I heard that you're quite good at fighting. Today, I'm here to experience it for myself." "You?" Ling Qianxue didn't react at first. When the two ninjas jumped out, she was instantly dumbfounded. There was no other reason than that these two ninjas were her subordinates. Their status in the Cherry Blossom group was much lower than hers. Everyone who saw her had to greet her respectfully. Now, they even dared to tease her. Although Ling Qianxue was furious, she didn't dare to act rashly. If Xiao Chen saw through her and ruined young Master Xing's plan, all her previous efforts would be wasted. Miss Xing was also fuming. She was already on the verge of exploding from the push. She couldn't be bothered to care about the consequences. She was prepared to beat them all to death. Even if she was discovered by Xiao Chen, she could think of other ways to keep an eye on her. These flies in front of her, however, were driving her to the limit. "Hubby! Don't be angry. Let me talk to them." Ling Qianxue saw that Miss Xing's mood wasn't right. She hurriedly gave her a look and stopped her. Although she didn't know Miss Xing's true strength, dealing with two Stage 5 inner force martial artists was definitely not a problem. However, these two martial artists were considered talents that the Cherry Blossom group had painstakingly cultivated. Although they were a little stupid, it was better to let them live. Humph. Seeing that Ling Qianxue was begging, Miss Xing could only snort and suppress the anger in her heart. She walked to the side and picked up a cloth to wipe the soup that splashed on her body. Seeing that Miss Xing had given her face, Ling Qianxue heaved a sigh of relief. She said to the two ninjas coldly, "There are too many people here. It's not convenient to fight. Follow me." Beauty, are you going to get a room with us? So proactive? Can't wait any longer? One of the ninjas teased with an evil smile. Ling Qianxue was so angry that she wanted to give him a kick. However, she endured it and didn't say much. She turned around and walked towards the direction of her hotel with a sullen face. Seeing that there was a chance, Red Hair hurriedly followed. This girl's looks weren't bad. He thought that he might be able to have a go at her first. Thinking of this, his lower abdomen suddenly became restless and he subconsciously licked his lips. Seeing this, the squinted skinny guy and the tall guy looked at each other and followed. They wanted to see what Ling Qianxue was going to do. If it was possible, they could at least drink some soup while their boss ate the meat, right? Arriving at the door of the room, Ling Qianxue pointed at the two ninjas and said coldly, "You two come in with me. Everyone else, wait outside. Don't look for trouble." "Wait. I say, miss, I was the one who found them. How can they go in but I can't? Since you're going to be played by us, it doesn't matter if it's 3 or 4 batches, isn't it the same?" Red Hair came over and said shamelessly. "If you're not afraid of death, then come in." Ling Qianxue didn't even look at Red Hair. She directly opened the door and walked in without turning her head. "You two wait outside. After we're done, I'll let you have a taste of this girl." Red Hair excitedly patted the shoulders of the skinny guy and the others. He shook his head and walked in with the two ninjas. He didn't forget to lock the door. After locking the door, Red Hair clenched his fist and turned around excitedly. "Pa! Pa!" Before he could completely turn around, he saw Ling Qianxue give the two ninjas a slap each. Red Hair was puzzled. Wasn't this girl a little too fierce? She still dared to hit people in such a situation? In the end, Ling Qianxue suddenly spoke. "Baka! You even dare to take liberties with me. Do you want to die?" Ling Qianxue angrily scolded. She used Japanese and returned to her original voice. The two ninjas were instantly stunned. What was going on? One of them reacted first. He felt that the voice was a little familiar. It seemed to be Ling Qinshue's voice. At that moment, his face turned pale and he immediately knelt down. The other ninja also felt that something was wrong. He suddenly remembered who the owner of the voice was. Suddenly, his legs softened and he knelt down on the ground. He didn't dare to raise his head and his whole body was trembling. Did the two of you come to Songning City because of Master Yakujima's order? Or did you act on your own? Tell me honestly. Ling Qinshuo didn't choose to forgive them because of their actions. She still had a pretty face and stared at the two ninjas kneeling on the ground. She asked in a cold tone. Master Qinshuo, we were wrong. Red Hair is very familiar with us. That's why we stood up for him. I hope Master Qinshuo can forgive us. Don't tell Master Yakujima about this. One of the older ninjas forced himself to calm down and reported respectfully. It's fine if you don't tell him, but you know the rules of the organization. Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want me to do it for you? Ling Qinshue's face was cold and she asked condescendingly. There was no emotion in her voice. We will do it ourselves. The older ninja knew that today's matter couldn't be resolved peacefully. He gritted his teeth and took out a piece of white cloth from his arms and spread it on the ground. Then he pulled out the short sword with his right hand and placed his left hand flat on the cloth. He raised the sword and cut off his little finger cleanly. The other ninja hesitated for a moment and then followed suit with a bitter face. The whole process was so painful that his face was sweating profusely, but he didn't even dare to make a sound. Although the two of them felt very helpless, they didn't dare to complain. This was already the smallest punishment. If this matter was really spread to Yakujima Kikuo, they were afraid that it wouldn't be as simple as cutting off their fingers. Ling Qinshuo snorted coldly and raised her eyes. Her cold eyes fell on Red Hair, who was stunned at the door and couldn't move. Master Qinshuo, I also know I was wrong. Please let me go. I promise, there won't be a next time. Red Hair felt like a bucket of ice water was poured from head to toe when Ling Qinshuo looked at him. He suddenly knelt down and begged for mercy. Chapter 877. Although he had never seen Ling Qinshuo before, he knew that there was such a person in the Sakura group. He just didn't expect to bump into her here. He was really unlucky. You guys have the nerve to stand up for this kind of trash. It's so embarrassing. After this is over, you guys can go apologize to Yakujima-sama yourselves. Ling Qinshuo said expressionlessly as she looked away. Well. Okay. The two ninjas could only nod helplessly. It seemed that cutting off the fingers could only appease Ling Qinshue's anger. As for how to deal with this matter, they had to wait for Yorishima Kikuo's decision. Your name is Red Hair, right? Ling Qinshuo finally looked at Red Hair again and waved her hand impatiently. This is none of your business. I'll let you go for Yakujima-sama's sake. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving here alive. Hurry up and get lost. Yes. Red Hair wanted to stand up, but his legs turned to jelly and he almost knelt down again. With great difficulty, he held his leg and stood up straight. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, opened the door, and ran out while trembling. Red Hair was very depressed. He wondered if he was the bane of his existence. The backer that he had spent so much effort to invite was gone again. The two men who were waiting outside heard the door open and saw Red Hair walking out, sweating profusely. They thought that their boss was done, so they quickly greeted him and asked eagerly, "Big brother, how was that girl's skill in bed? Isn't it our turn?" Looking at the two who didn't know the truth, Red Hair opened his mouth, but he was too embarrassed to say that he had lost his backer again. He could only walk out and pretended to say, "Go in my A*s." The two ninjas are still having sex with the girl. Let's go first. Come back later when they're done. Red Hair's heart was bleeding. He couldn't say such a shameful truth even if he died. Now, he could only think of a way to fool these two underlings. At most, he would find two more young models and reward them. Oh, oh, oh. The squinted skinny man believed him and nodded heavily. He gave a thumbs up and complimented, "Those two martial artists are really powerful. They can even handle such a violent girl so easily. They are indeed masters." After leaving the hotel, the three of them did not know what to do and could only stand by the roadside in a daze. "Big brother Red Fur, I remember now. That Youtiao seller cheated us of a lot of money before. Moreover, he even broke my hand. How about, we go and teach him a lesson?" The tall man suddenly had an idea and suggested. Since he had already dealt with the pretty girl, he might as well take the opportunity to deal with the Youtiao seller. Big brother was indeed big brother. Once he made a move, he solved everything. Of course. Let's go. Let's take a taxi. Red Hair immediately agreed. He was feeling depressed and had to find someone to vent his anger on. Once again returning to the morning market street, Red Fur learned his lesson and didn't directly walk towards Xiao Chen's stall. Instead, he first stood in the distance and carefully observed for a while. After confirming that the couple selling Youtiao didn't know each other, he aggressively rushed over. "Get lost! Get lost!" Red Fur and the two delinquents behind him pushed and shoved to separate the queue. The people who were pushed wanted to curse, but when they saw that it was a famous local bully of the morning market street, they immediately lost their imposing manner. They suppressed their anger and dispersed to the side. Red Fur arrived in front of Xiao Chen's stall and arrogantly pointed at him. "Hey! Youtiao seller, I heard from my brother that you seem pretty arrogant. Not only did you injure them for no reason, but you also publicly robbed them of their money. You actually dare to rob them in broad daylight? Do you not want to stay in the morning market street anymore? Why is it you again? Why are you looking for me? I think you won't feel comfortable unless you get beaten up. Is your skin itching again?" Xiao Chen was making breakfast well and was disturbed for no reason. He was immediately displeased. When Red Fur flipped over Xing Las's stall, Xiao Chen already noticed it. However, he was too lazy to care. He couldn't do anything to Xing Las anyway. He didn't expect that after disappearing for a while, this group of people actually came to find trouble with him. F***ck, your mouth is pretty stubborn. Red Fur glared at him. He rubbed the red hair on his head and angrily said, "Let me tell you. Hurry up and apologize to my brother. Then pay 80,000 to 80,000 yuan in medical fees and we'll let this matter go. Otherwise, when my two subordinates come later, they can easily peel off a layer of your skin. Let me tell you, they are all martial arts experts at the 5th stage of inner strength. How about it, are you afraid now?" Now that the two ninja experts weren't by his side, Red Fur could only choose to intimidate. After all, he knew that Xiao Chen had some brute strength. If he fought recklessly, he might be at a disadvantage. He could only borrow the power of a martial artist to make the other party afraid. "Oh, then let them come." Xiao Chen waved his hand as if he was shooing away flies. He impatiently said, "Is there nothing else? If there's nothing else, then scram. Don't block the customers from buying things. F***ck your mother, I think you are. I.O. Red Fur wanted to use the same old trick and kick the stall away. However, just as he lifted his leg, Xiao Chen directly grabbed his hair and dragged him to a nearby corner. The two punks originally had their hands on their hips and were full of vigor. In the blink of an eye, when they saw Red Fur being grabbed, they instantly became numb. They stared at each other and didn't know what to do. There was no other way. Both of them couldn't beat Xiao Chen. If they failed to save Red Fur and got beaten up again, they might not even have the money to pay for his medical fees. What Xiao Chen hated the most was when people talked about his parents. Redhead had touched his reverse scale, so Xiao Chen didn't say anything else. He directly grabbed Redhead and gave him a round of punches and kicks. Redhead's eyes rolled back into his head. However, Xiao Chen was still conscious and didn't use his energy. Otherwise, if he accidentally beat Red Fur to death, it wouldn't be good for him to stay on the morning market anymore. Ouch! You! How dare you hit me? Red Fur was very strong-willed at first. He kept cursing and threatening while covering his head to dodge. However, no matter how he dodged, he still suffered a few punches. His face was immediately swollen. Have you heard of Hero White Fox? He's my boss. Of course, I dare to hit you. As Xiao Chen spoke, his hands and feet didn't stop. His storm-like fists were still smashing at Red Fur's body. Huh! Red Fur was stunned. He stopped dodging. Did he hear wrongly? Did this guy just mention Hero White Fox? After coming back to his senses, Red Fur nearly peed his pants. He was rather quick-witted. He immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. Don't hit me. Hero, spare me. I surrender. Oh? You really surrender? You don't want me to pay for your medical fees? Xiao Chen's fists were still waving in the air as he asked coldly. I really surrender. No. There's no need to pay, Hero. Red Fur's tears and mucus flew everywhere. He must have forgotten to look at the almanac when he went out today. He had just knelt down for one, and now he had to kneel down for another. Then tell me, where are the two warriors' underlings? What are they doing with the girl in the opposite stall? Don't even think about lying, or else I'll make you drink that pot of oil. Xiao Chen grabbed Red Fur's hair and pointed at the pot of oil that was used to fry youtiao not far away. He saw that the boiling hot oil was bubbling non-stop. It was very horrifying. They went to the hotel. Red Fur shivered. He knew that Xiao Chen's underlings were ruthless and would definitely do what he said. So, he didn't dare to hide anything and told them what happened at the hotel. However, he tried to speak as softly as possible so that his underlings wouldn't hear. All right. Hand over all the money you have and get lost. Xiao Chen knew the situation and didn't want to argue with Red Fur anymore. He thought to himself, that girl really is Ling Qianxue. I wasn't too sure before, but now I'm 100% sure. And I still have to pay? Isn't this still robbery? Red Fur muttered weakly, but he still took out all his money. It was a thick stack that was estimated to be more than 20,000. Of course not. You bought a youtiao from me, so it's natural for you to pay me. Xiao Chen took the money and said with a smile. Youtiao? I didn't buy youtiao. Red Fur subconsciously asked back. You'll have some soon. Xiao Chen threw a youtiao into the pot and fried it. He then scooped it up and stuffed it into Red Fur's mouth. Ouch! Being caught off guard, Red Fur's mouth was instantly scalded and blistered. He wailed and spat out the youtiao. He looked around in panic and scrambled to a nearby bucket that was used to wash the mop. He directly stuck his head into the bucket. The two hooligans were also dumbfounded. After they reacted, they quickly rushed over and wanted to help the red-haired man out of the bucket. However, the red-haired man refused to leave no matter what. The skinny man with squinted eyes was in a hurry. He informed the tall man and didn't care about anything else. He carried the red-haired man and the bucket to the hospital. Xiao Chen didn't care about them anymore. He was wondering what Xing Chick and Ling Qianxue's intentions were. It was really strange. They had been under surveillance for a few days, but there was no news. If they were to say that they were working for the horse centipede, right? It didn't seem like it. After all, it had been so long, and Ma Dazhao hadn't come looking for trouble. If they weren't Ma Dazhao's underlings, then why did they target him? Right now, he was down and out. He didn't have money or power, so there was nothing for him to do. Could it be that they saw that he was handsome, so they thought of ways to marry him and become his wife? Shaking his head, Xiaofan felt his head hurt. He couldn't think of a reason, so he decided not to think anymore. He turned around and continued to fry youtiao for the crowd that had gathered again. Lil Thi, aren't you being too violent? That troublemaker, you can just beat him up. What if he dies when you shove the hot youtiao into his mouth? Cheng Menjing frowned. She was a little puzzled. Xiaofan wasn't this violent before. Why did he become so extreme recently? Was it because he was on tenterhooks every day, so he wanted to vent his anger? Chapter 878. Oh, they came to buy youtiao, so I sold it. What's there to be violent about? Besides, I fed him myself. Xiaofan didn't mind. He took out the money and waved it, then naturally handed it to Cheng Menjing. Sigh. You should restrain yourself from now on. With our current situation, it's better to avoid trouble. It's better to be careful. Cheng Menjing took the money and sighed helplessly. She didn't want to say anything else since Xiaofan wouldn't listen to her. After applying some ointment in the hospital and receiving 2 tetanus shots, the blisters in Red Hair's mouth finally subsided a lot. Although it was painful, at least it didn't spread. Fortunately, his 2 subordinates sent him to the hospital in time. Otherwise, his mouth would have been rotting. Motherf **Ker, I'm so unlucky today. Looks like I need to find a girl to go to the fire. Ouch. Just as he stepped out of the hospital side door, the red-haired man cursed as he walked. In a moment of carelessness, he was bumped into by a middle-aged man who was walking towards him. Although the middle-aged man was in a hurry, he still stopped for a moment. A young man behind him quickly ran over and helped Red Hair up. When the middle-aged man saw that Red Hair had stabilized himself, he asked indifferently, "Sorry, I didn't hurt you, right?" Although he was apologizing, his tone wasn't apologetic at all. F***CK. Are you F***King blind? How could you bump into me on such a wide road? Why don't you F***King die? The road is so wide, why don't you go and bump into a truck? Red Hair shook off the young man who was supporting him and pointed at the middle-aged man. Young man, don't be so sarcastic. I've already apologized to you. What else do you want? The middle-aged man frowned after being insulted, but he still spoke patiently. He still had something urgent to do and didn't have time to talk nonsense with Red Hair. After saying that, he planned to walk past Red Hair and leave. Stop right there. You bumped into me, and I feel pain all over my body. I want to go to the hospital to get my injuries examined. If you don't pay me 300,000 to 500,000 in medical fees, don't even think of leaving here alive today. Red Hair shot forward like an arrow and blocked the middle-aged man as he yelled with a domineering expression. He saw that the other party was easy to talk to, so he came up with an idea on the spur of the moment. He wanted to scam some money to compensate for his previous losses. TSK. What nonsense are you spouting? Our sect master. Our boss apologizing to you is already good enough, but you still dare to ask for money? I think you deserve a beating. Before the middle-aged man could say anything, several young men suddenly jumped out from behind him. One of them said sternly. You. What do you want to do? I was hit. Ah. Redhead didn't expect the other party to have so many people. Halfway through his threat, the young man who criticized him just now rushed forward and grabbed his collar. What do you want? Of course, I'm going to teach you a lesson. The young man sneered and raised his fist, ready to make a move. Don't move. You guys are too daring. I am White Fox Hero's underling. If you dare to touch me, White Fox Hero will definitely not let you off. At this critical moment, Redhead's mind flashed and he blurted out a lie. In his heart, he prayed that the title, White Fox Hero, would prevent him from suffering any more physical pain. Perhaps Redhead's prayer was answered, but the young man who grabbed Redhead was stunned for a moment. Then, he slowly lowered his fist as if he wasn't going to make another move. Instead, he turned his head to look at the middle-aged man not far away, as if waiting for his command. What? You are White Fox's underling? The middle-aged man was obviously a little surprised. He stared at Redhead doubtfully, as if he was thinking about something. Hee. Are you afraid? Seeing that the middle-aged man hesitated when he heard White Fox Hero, Redhead thought that he was afraid. He immediately straightened his back and said proudly, "Don't dawdle. Hurry up and apologize to me. Give me some compensation for my mental damage, and I'll let this matter go." Redhead was feeling smug while he was scaring the man. He didn't expect the title, White Fox, to be so useful. He could easily fool others. It seemed like he could use this title to show off in the future. I can wear out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance without even looking for it. The middle-aged man suddenly smiled creepily. He shook his body and released a powerful demonic aura. He stared at Redhead coldly and said, "Kid, as long as you tell me where White Fox is hiding, I'll spare your life for now. Otherwise," the middle-aged man seemed to stomp his feet casually, and a huge pit instantly appeared on the ground. Redhead was shocked, and he fell to his knees with a thud. This middle-aged man was the leader of the Kuei Mountain sect, Ma Wuxiu. Ever since he came to Songning City, he had been asking around for Xiao Chen's whereabouts. He even heard from the warrior guild that Xiao Chen had used the title, White Fox. Therefore, when he heard Redhead's words, he could not wait any longer. This hero, I was just making it up. I'm not White Fox's underling, I'm really not. It's just because I met someone who called himself White Fox's underling, so I used his name to fool you. Please believe me." Redhead was about to cry. He could feel a surge of warmth involuntarily gushing out from between his thighs. The group of young people around also smelled a fresh stench. They all frowned and glared at Redhead. They took a few steps away. This seemingly arrogant but actually cowardly hooligan was probably scared to the point of peeing his pants. "Where's the person you're talking about?" Seeing that Redhead did not look like he was lying, Ma Wuxiu retracted his demonic aura and asked with a sullen face, "I advise you to tell the truth. If I find out that you're fooling me, I'll make you wish you were dead. I mean what I say." Of course. That person is selling youtiao at the morning market street. However, it's a little late now. I'm not sure if you'll be able to meet him if you go there." Redhead had lost all his courage to resist. He quickly replied and tried his best to put on a smile that was uglier than crying. "At least you're sensible." Ma Wuxiu could feel that Redhead was telling the truth. He nodded and instructed a disciple behind him, "Go to the morning market street and keep an eye on that youtiao seller. Once he contacts Xiao Chen, inform me immediately." "Yes, sir." The disciple cupped his fist and accepted the order. He then asked for Redhead's address and ran directly towards the morning market street. As for Ma Wuxiu, he left Redhead, who had curled up into a ball, to attend to other matters. Although the youtiao seller was Xiao Chen's underling, Ma Wuxiu did not intend to do it himself. If he accidentally alerted the enemy, it would be more troublesome to find Xiao Chen. Besides, Xiao Chen had too many underlings. During this period of investigation, he found that there were several in Songning City alone. Zhu Yingxiong, Yu Xiaochuan, Lu Zhenming and so on were Xiao Chen's underlings, including the Xie family in other cities. Expanding the scope, there were also the Wang family in Tianfang province and the Shen family in Lan City. All of them had inexplicable connections with Xiao Chen. Ma Wuxia was quite excited when he heard that Xiao Chen had so many underlings. He thought that as long as he kept an eye on a few of them, he would be able to find Xiao Chen himself. In the end, he arranged his manpower and waited for a few days. However, Xiao Chen seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. He did not contact those people at all. In this situation, Ma Wuxia could only be blinded. The only thing he could think of was to send someone to keep an eye on Xiao Chen's movements. After all, he still had a lot of things to do. Even if he was in the secular world, he had to take care of the development of the sect. Otherwise, he would be the sect master for nothing. Seeing that Ma Wuxia and the others had finally left, Redhead was finally relieved. He sat on a puddle of yellow water and did not move for a long time. After being in a daze for a long time, Redhead suddenly slapped his thigh as he remembered something. Since this hero was White Fox's enemy, he should have become his disciple just now. He was so powerful that it would not be a problem for him to be his backer. That way, he could also help him take revenge. He was so scared that he did not react. What a great loss. In the evening of the same day, when Xiao Chen was packing up his stall and on his way back, he felt that someone was following him from behind. Moreover, the tracking method was very clumsy. He thought it was the two girls, Xing and Ling Qinxue. However, when he secretly released his divine sense to check, he found that it was actually Lu Shuangshuang who was following him stealthily. Xiao Chen was a little surprised. Why was this girl following him for no reason? Could it be that she had confirmed that he was Xiao Chen in disguise? Thinking about it carefully, Xiao Chen found that it was quite possible that he had been seen through. After all, Lu Shuangshuang had done it with him several times. Besides, they had been in frequent contact before. She also knew him very well. She might have suspected him because of this. Although his appearance and voice had been changed, it was hard for him to change his habits and actions in a short time. When he pretended to be White Fox, he was also seen through by Jean Bebe. Xiao Chen raised his head and looked ahead. It seemed that Cheng Menjing did not notice anything unusual. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen felt that since he had discovered it, he could not ignore it. Seeing that they were about to reach Tang Tang's place, Xiao Chen simply found an excuse. He said that he had to buy some vegetables and asked Cheng Menjing to go back first. What? I just saw the guy selling fried dough sticks in front of me. How come he disappeared in a blink of an eye? At this time, Lu Shuangshuang was hiding behind an electric pole with a pair of big sunglasses and a mask. Some passers-by who did not know what was going on all looked at her, thinking that she was a big star in disguise. Why are you hiding here? You are so sneaky. Are you trying to steal something? Xiao Chen suddenly appeared behind Lu Shuangshuang. He patted her shoulder softly and asked in confusion. Xiao Chen did not want to expose her. But after thinking for a while, he still decided to take action. Chapter 879. Although he had not encountered any danger yet, it would be dangerous if Lu Shuangshuang became suspicious of him and frequently appeared nearby. Who knew if this old thing had investigated the relationship between him and Lu Shuangshuang and sent someone to follow her? Curiosity killed the cat. Ah! Lu Shuangshuang was shocked by Xiao Chen. She jumped high and turned around, screaming. She asked incredulously, "You? Why are you behind me? This doesn't make sense. Weren't you near the stairs just now? Don't I often behind you? But sometimes I'm above you. Don't you remember?" Xiao Chen said in a low voice with a teasing look on his face. He did not return to his original appearance, but his voice had returned to its original state. You? What are you talking about? Psycho. Pervert. Lu Shuangshuang first glared at Xiao Chen in disgust. Just as she was about to turn around and leave, she suddenly felt that the voice sounded a little familiar. She paused and asked with some hesitation and surprise, Who exactly are you? You still don't recognize me? I am Yang Jiannan. Or you can call me Xiao Chang. Xiao Chen touched his nose helplessly. He thought that Lu Shuangshuang could recognize his voice. But she did not recognize him. You are Xiao. Lu Shuangshuang covered her mouth before she could finish her sentence. She remembered that there were special reasons why Xiao Chen disguised himself as someone else. So she realized that she could not expose him directly. Looking at Xiao Chen, who looked completely different, Lu Shuangshuang whispered in surprise, "How did you become like this again? Are you on a mission?" It's a long story. Xiao Chen sighed and briefly told her what had happened recently. I see. You haven't contacted me for so long. I thought you didn't want me anymore. Lu Shuangshuang lowered her head and said shyly. How could that be? Xiao Chen pinched her cheek with a smile and whispered, if it weren't for the fact that the current matter might involve you, I would have come to you as soon as I returned to Songning. After all, my brother and I haven't seen you for a long time. We really miss you. Which brother of yours? Lu Shuangshuang was stunned. Seeing the evil smile on Xiao Chen's face, she suddenly understood and blushed. She lightly punched Xiao Chen's chest and pouted, You are so bad. The moment you saw me, you thought of this. Don't you want to? Xiao Chen teased her a little more. Seeing that it was getting late, he ruffled Lu Shuangshuang's hair and said, All right, it's getting late. I should go back. It's good that you know it's me. Don't tell anyone, not even Kerlin. Lu Shuangshuang nodded. Yes, I will keep this a secret. I'll take my leave first then. Xiao Chen nodded. Lu Shuangshuang hesitated for a while, stepped forward, tiptoed, and kissed Xiao Chen directly on the lips. Although Xiao Chen was stunned, he still kissed her back affectionately at once. The two lingered for a while, and Lu Shuangshuang blushed. She looked back every 3 steps and left reluctantly. Cheng Menjing watched TV at home for a while. She waited for a long time, but Xiao Chen didn't come back. She was a little worried, fearing that something had happened to him. After thinking about it, Cheng Menjing simply leaned on the windowsill and looked downstairs. She happened to see the scene of Lu Shuangshuang tiptoeing and kissing Xiao Chen. The young lady was so angry that smoke was coming out of her head. Well, there really is something going on between you and Lu Shuangshuang. That woman is too shameless. In broad daylight, in public, she actually dared to take the initiative to kiss him. She must not be a good woman. Humph. Damn Xiao Chen, stinky Xiao Chen. I was worried about whether you were in danger or not. I didn't expect you to be flirting with a girl downstairs. I'm so angry. Cheng Menjing grumbled angrily. She felt that she had nowhere to vent her anger. She simply grabbed the pillow that Xiao Chen was sleeping on and punched it a few times. Only then did she feel a little better. After a while, she heard the door open. Xiao Chen came back with a bag of fruits and vegetables. Hearing the door open, Cheng Menjing rushed out of the room and glared at him angrily. Her eyes were almost on fire. Young lady, why do you look like you have a deep grudge? Did the rat steal all the snacks again? Xiao Chen didn't understand and asked doubtfully. Last time, Cheng Menjing secretly hid a few bags of snacks. In the end, before she started eating, all the snacks were stolen by the rats that slipped in. Xiao Chen thought that the rats came to visit again. He was still puzzled. Could it be that the rat poison that he bought before didn't work? Xiao Chen. Where did you go just now? Why did you come back so late? Tell me the truth. Cheng Menjing frowned and asked angrily. Didn't I tell you just now? I went to buy some fruits and vegetables for you. Tonight, we will make a fruit and vegetable salad. Xiao Chen scratched his head and answered with a confused face. Did the young lady's memory start to deteriorate so early? He had clearly told her before he went upstairs. Really? You just went to buy some things? You didn't do anything else behind my back? Cheng Menjing narrowed her eyes dangerously and asked word by word. Yes. Xiaochen innocently raised the bag full of fruits and vegetables in his hand and shook it. He wondered, is there something wrong with your eyes? Can't you see the big bag in my hand? Humph. There's something wrong with your eyes. What stupid fruit and vegetable salad. I don't want to eat it. You can eat it yourself. Cheng Menjing snorted heavily and said in her heart, Xiaochen, you big bastard. You were kissed by Lu Shuangshuang in public. You did something wrong, but you still dare to be so self-righteous. You really don't put me in your eyes at all. Young lady, what's wrong with you? I just went out for a long time. You don't have to be so angry. Before Xiaochen could finish, Cheng Menjing impatiently covered her ears, as if she didn't want to listen to his explanation. Liar. You are a big liar. In addition to covering her ears, Cheng Menjing roared again. She stomped her feet angrily, turned around, and ran into the room. How did I lie to you? Young lady? Menjing. Xiaochen was shocked. He quickly put down the things in his hand and chased after her. Just as he ran to the door, he heard a loud bang. Cheng Menjing directly closed the door. Xiaochen's nose was almost smashed. Then, with a click, the door was locked by Cheng Menjing. Xiaochen was confused as he recalled the meaning of Cheng Menjing's words. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. Could it be? My ambiguous actions with Lu Shuangshuang downstairs were discovered by young lady? The more Xiaochen thought about it, the more likely it seemed. The window of the room was facing downstairs. As long as young lady stood by the window and poked her head out, she would be able to see the situation downstairs. Sigh. Xiaochen hit his head in annoyance. What a blunder. If he knew this would happen, he would have hidden further away with Lu Shuangshuang. After understanding the whole story, Xiaochen quickly used his primordial qi to open the door. He saw Cheng Menjing sitting on the bed angrily. She was hugging his pillow and hammering it heavily. Her cheeks were puffed up like two big buns. She looked like a hamster. She looked quite cute. Ahem, Menjing, actually, Lu Shuangshuang and I have known each other for a long time. We. Xiaochen quickly shook his head and threw the thought out of his mind. What cute. Based on the current situation, it was better to hurry up and explain the situation. So, Xiaochen told her everything in detail, including how he was Lu Shuangshuang's fake boyfriend, and then accidentally had a relationship with Lu Shuangshuang. He spilled everything like beans pouring out of a bamboo tube. In fact, if it wasn't for Cheng Menjing accidentally discovering this scene, Xiaochen planned to hide it from her for a while. No matter what, the first miss was Xiaochen's legitimate fiancé, and she had never liked it when he went around messing around. If this matter were to be revealed, wouldn't that be asking for trouble? But now that it had come to this, in order to coax Cheng Menjing, Xiaochen could only tell her everything he could. Fortunately, this time Cheng Menjing didn't interrupt Xiaochen's explanation again. She listened to him until the end. Humph. Are you finally willing to tell the truth? Didn't you say that there was something wrong with my eyes just now? Cheng Menjing pouted and glared at Xiaochen. She took out her phone and quickly flipped through it a few times. She handed it to Xiaochen and said, "Don't try to deny it. I took photos of all the bad things you did. This is the best evidence." This. Xiaochen glanced at the phone and felt a little depressed. Although the photos were a little blurry, he could still recognize Xiaochen and Lu Shuangshuang. In desperation, Xiaochen had to explain, "I wanted to wait until this matter is over and then find a suitable opportunity to explain to you. I didn't expect you to be so smart and catch me. But you can't lie to me. No matter what, I am your mistress and fiancé. When you lied to me, didn't you consider my feelings? Although Xiao Chen admitted his mistake, Cheng Menjing was still a little unhappy. She couldn't accept being deceived by others. Especially being deceived by someone who was so close to Xiao Chen, it made her even angrier. I was afraid of making you angry. That's why I didn't dare to say it. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to deceive you. Xiao Chen said with a bitter face. He felt a little bitter in his heart. If he told her about his romantic history, he was afraid that she would vomit blood in anger. Really? Are you really afraid that I will be angry? Cheng Menjing looked at Xiao Chen suspiciously and asked. Yes. If you don't believe me, I can swear on the lamp. Xiao Chen felt Cheng Menjing's suspicion. He quickly pointed at the ceiling and patted his chest. Chapter 880. All right then. I'll reluctantly forgive you. You don't have to make such an old-fashioned oath. Just don't keep trying to hide it from me in the future. Cheng Menjing's expression relaxed. She nodded, and her expression wasn't as ugly as before. She put down the pillow in her hand and took the phone from Xiao Chen's hand to play with it. I won't anymore. Oh right, are you hungry? I'll go make some fruit and vegetables for you to eat now. Xiao Chen politely rolled up his sleeves and walked towards the kitchen. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He originally thought that Cheng Menjing would make a fuss for a while. He didn't expect her to be appeased with just a few words. Cheng Menjing lowered her head and played with it for a while. Suddenly, she remembered something. She put down the phone and said, "Wait. Let me ask you something." "Oh, what is it?" Xiao Chen immediately stopped and turned his head. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Missy found out about my situation again? It's nothing big. It's just that. Has your cultivation been effective recently? Cheng Menjing tilted her head and asked hesitantly. Cultivation? It should be, all right. Xiao Chen was stunned for a moment before answering hesitantly. In fact, he hadn't cultivated properly for a long time. Now, not only did he have to sell youtiao to make a living during the day, he also had to be on guard against Miss Xing. At night, he had to worry about Ma Lanxiao coming to find him. He needed to maintain a high state of mind. Under such circumstances, how could Xiao Chen have the time to cultivate? Oh. Cheng Menjing responded. She seemed to be immersed in her own world and hadn't come back to her senses. Xiao Chen thought for a moment. He guessed that Cheng Menjing might have encountered some difficulties in her cultivation, so he asked, "What's wrong? Are you in some kind of trouble?" It's been a long time since we left the Quishan sect, right? I feel like my cultivation isn't having any effect. I haven't made any progress at all. I don't know what's going on, Cheng Menjing said, a puzzled look on her face. She was indeed confused. Every day, she cultivated according to the mental cultivation method, but the results were minimal. She did not make any progress at all. It couldn't be, right? Are you kidding me? Xiao Chen was a little surprised. He knew that Miss had been practicing hard every night since she returned to Songning City. Although she lacked the assistance of the sect's treasures, she shouldn't have stagnated in her progress. Really? I'm not lying to you. I'm still at the first level of Devil Master. Cheng Menjing lowered her head and said weakly. She didn't understand what was going on either. Everything was fine when she was in the Kuei Mountain sect, and her cultivation speed was quite fast. Why was it that she couldn't do the same after returning to the secular world? This time, Xiao Chen really felt that it was a little strange. Looking at Cheng Menjing's conflicted expression, it didn't seem like she was trying to trick him. However, logically speaking, regardless of whether it was a martial cultivator or a demonic cultivator, the influence of the environment had always been relatively small. These two were completely different from cultivators. In addition to absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, cultivators also needed precious medicinal herbs as support. It could be said that the conditions for cultivation were extremely harsh. Just like Li Xianer, didn't she always stay at the first level of the qi refinement stage because she didn't have anyone to guide her? Yi Xiaoye was also a devil cultivator like Cheng Menjing, but when she was in the secular world, didn't she also cultivate well? Of course, it might be because she had all kinds of spiritual herbs to help her, so her cultivation speed was faster. However, even without the help of spiritual herbs, she wouldn't be stagnant. Are you sure that your devil cultivation level didn't advance at all? Xiao Chen confirmed again. Yes, I'm sure. Cheng Menjing looked at Xiao Chen pitifully, hoping that he could point her out. But in fact, Xiao Chen didn't know much about devil cultivators. Although in the eyes of others, he was definitely a devil cultivator because he was a disciple of the Devil Star sect, in fact, that was just a disguise. After all, the awesome thing about cultivators was that they could learn the martial skills of devil cultivators and martial cultivators at the same time, and no one would see through them. Well. Although Xiao Chen didn't know it himself, he still had a teacher. Xiao Chen pretended to be deep in thought, and then secretly asked in the divine sense space, Elder Heaven Ancestor, what's going on? Why can't Cheng Menjing cultivate in the secular world? Is there no spiritual herbs to help her? A few days ago, Elder Heaven Ancestor had already woken up from his dormant state, but he could only speak. Old Demon Fire Wolf and Flame of the Underworld were still in a dormant state, and they didn't respond even when he called them. It would probably take a few more days for them to recover. Ask her to bring the mental cultivation method over, and let me take a look at it before I can make a conclusion. It's not easy for me to make a direct judgment with just her and you talking. Although Elder Heaven Ancestor had recovered, his voice was still a little weak. After hearing Elder Heaven Ancestor's words, Xiao Chen nodded slightly, and reached out to ask Cheng Menjing for the book. How about this, young miss, give me the niece's Heart Sutra first, and I'll see if there's any problem with it. I've told you many times that it's the Weaver's Heart Sutra. What niece and niece, why don't you have a good memory? Cheng Menjing grumbled, and then took out the mental cultivation method from the side of the pillow and threw it over. She had already flipped through the book, but she still couldn't find any clues. Now she could only rely on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen didn't answer, and instead took the book and flipped through it, pretending to read it himself, but in reality, he was showing it to Elder Heaven Ancestor in his consciousness space. After a while, Elder Heaven Ancestor finished reading the entire Weaver's Heart Sutra, and couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. Tisk tsk, I didn't expect this mental cultivation method to fall into the hands of the Kuei Mountain sect. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Xiao Chen asked. This is a mental cultivation method. It's not an ordinary demonic cultivation method, and it definitely can't be cultivated in ordinary ways. If she just cultivated it like that, she wouldn't be able to achieve anything in her lifetime, Elder Heaven Ancestor replied matter-of-factly. What? Young Miss is also a cultivator. Elder Heaven Ancestor, are you sure you're not mistaken? How is that possible? Could it be that you've just woken up from hibernation and haven't fully recovered, so you're mistaken? Xiao Chen asked in shock. He couldn't believe it. How did young Miss become a cultivator? F***ck off. How could I be mistaken? I've seen this mental cultivation method before. It's called the Art of Silkworm and Phoenix, an ancient mental cultivation method. I don't know how it was passed down, but it was changed into the Weaver's Heart Sutra, Elder Heaven Ancestor explained impatiently. Art of Silkworm and Phoenix? There are actually 5 words, and it sounds very powerful. Xiao Chen exclaimed in surprise. Of course it's powerful. Although this mental cultivation method can't compare to your heaven-stolen fortune battle art, if it's cultivated by a girl, it'll be twice the result with half the effort. When it's fully mastered, it might not be any worse than yours. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. What the F***ck, is this for real? Xiao Chen was very surprised at first, but then he suddenly remembered that cultivators were a very powerful existence, so he could only accept this reality. He sighed in his heart that young Miss was also a legend. It's true, but she's not like you. It's not easy for her to cultivate to this realm without anyone's guidance. Elder Heaven Ancestor's tone was a bit more appreciative. Is she really that powerful? Xiao Chen was a bit unconvinced. What, you don't believe me? Elder Heaven Ancestor said lightly, if you don't believe me, you can wait for the next time she shows her strength. Take a closer look, and you'll feel it. This, speaking of which, it seems like, she's never shown her strength before. Xiao Chen thought about it and was speechless. During the time he lived with Cheng Menjing, he had never seen her real strength, nor did he see her fight with anyone. If it wasn't for the fact that she often cultivated at night, he would have forgotten about it. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen raised his head and said to Cheng Menjing, Menjing, try to show off your strength. Why? Why would I show off my strength for no reason? What if someone finds out? Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes and retorted. Recently, she had been very careful when she cultivated, and she usually tried to not let the devil qi in her body leak out. She was afraid that if she was not careful, she would be discovered by the Kuei Mountain faction and cause trouble. Now that Xiao Chen suddenly asked her to show off her strength, she naturally had to be cautious. It's nothing, I'm just pretending. Xiao Chen shrugged. Suddenly, he smiled slyly and teased, speaking of which, you really don't need to pretend. You already have it, anyway, you just need to show it off. It's not like you'll lose out. Xiao Chen. Do you believe that I won't kick you to death? Cheng Menjing was not stupid. She could tell that Xiao Chen's words had a different meaning. She was so angry that her eyebrows were raised. She wanted to rush over and beat him up. What kind of person was he? This was too filthy. I'm just joking. I just wanted to see your strength. Maybe I can find the reason. I can't confirm it just by listening to you, right? Xiao Chen knew that he had misspoken and quickly tried to salvage the situation. Humph. You're right. Alright, just you wait. Cheng Menjing glared at Xiao Chen again. Then, she activated her mental cultivation method and released a thick devil qi from her body. The strength of a level 1 devil master was displayed clearly. This. Xiao Chen was so shocked that his mouth formed an O shape. What kind of level 1 devil master is this? This is clearly a level 10 refinement stage cultivator. No wonder Big Miss has such a high requirement for the heaven and earth spiritual qi. When Xiao Chen was cultivating, it was also because the heaven and earth spiritual qi in the secular world was extremely sparse. Therefore, he could only rely on spirit jades and heavenly treasures to increase his cultivation. Otherwise, he would not have been able to reach this stage today. It was normal for Big Miss to have no progress. It would be strange if she had. After knowing the reason, Xiao Chen felt a little depressed. How was he supposed to explain this matter to Big Miss? If he wanted to explain this thing, it would definitely take a lot of effort. She was also a novice who had just entered the sect, and he only had a smattering of knowledge about cultivators. He couldn't possibly let her enter his divine sense space and directly talk to Elder Celestial, could he? Chapter 881. Xiao Chen, what are you thinking about? Is it that difficult to solve my cultivation problem? Could it be that something has happened? Cheng Menjing looked at Xiao Chen frowning and thinking hard. She couldn't help but ask. She felt a little uneasy. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with my cultivation method? Sigh. Well, it's actually like this. Xiao Chen pondered for a while. Before Cheng Menjing was about to explode, he finally sighed and tried his best to explain the difference between a cultivator and a martial cultivator. You mean? I'm a cultivator? Not a demonic cultivator or a martial cultivator? Cheng Menjing was confused. Although she couldn't fully understand what Xiaochen had just said, she still grasped the main point of the problem. That's right. You're a brilliant cultivator. Xiaochen nodded heavily. How did you know? I've never heard anyone mention a cultivator. You didn't make it up to fool me, did you? Cheng Menjing asked suspiciously. However, she felt that what Xiaochen had said before seemed to be very logical. It didn't seem like he was lying to her. Because I'm also a cultivator. I say, you're really daring. Where could I have come up with those lies? I must have had a basis to say that. Do you think I'm a novelist? Xiaochen shook his head helplessly. How could such a meticulous cultivation logic be made up? What? You too? Cheng Menjing was stunned and looked at Xiaochen in disbelief. However, she suddenly recalled that Xiaochen seemed to have been constantly drinking medicine and training since he was kicked out of the Xiao family and moved into her villa. Later, he would encounter all kinds of dangerous situations from time to time. He was not willing to help her, but it seemed that he could escape successfully every time. Recalling this, Cheng Menjing finally believed his words a little. Yeah. Otherwise, how could a good-for-nothing young master like me be able to kill so many people in such a short time? I can even trample on those troublemakers until they piss their pants in terror, Xiaochen said with a chuckle. If he hadn't been saved by the Elder Heaven ancestor by chance, perhaps he would have been killed by Chao Yuliang and the others. Does that mean that I can have those magical abilities just like you? Happiness came too suddenly. Cheng Menjing couldn't accept it for a while and asked doubtfully. Well, I can teach you some special abilities of cultivators. Since you are a cultivator, you should be able to learn them very quickly, Xiaochen said with a smile. Next, Xiaochen told Cheng Menjing how to transform, how to use the simple fireball technique and so on. However, when these skills were used by the young miss, they basically didn't have any lethality. After all, her strength was still too low. At most, she could only light a fire and wash her hands. At the beginning, Cheng Menjing was worried that the fireball technique would burn her hands. Due to her nervousness, she couldn't successfully activate it several times. However, after Xiaochen personally demonstrated it to her, her psychological barrier gradually decreased. Slowly, she was able to successfully activate the fireball technique. However, the weak flame was probably only enough to light a cigarette. As for the transformation, the young miss had no problem. After a few tries, she succeeded. However, with her strength, she couldn't maintain her appearance for a long time. Otherwise, the energy in her body would be exhausted very quickly. After learning the new ability, Cheng Menjing couldn't help but be surprised and happy. This time, she really believed that she was a cultivator. There were probably only a few in the entire Great Xia Kingdom who had such a rare and powerful existence. However, after being happy, Cheng Menjing began to worry again. Her identity might be incredible, but it would be a waste if she couldn't increase her strength. In the past, when she was in the Kuei Mountain sect, not only was the heaven and earth energy abundant, but there were also plenty of treasures. There was no need to worry about the progress of cultivation. Now in Songning City, even living was a problem. She had to live in fear every day, let alone buying those expensive herbs for cultivation. Xiaochen was also very distressed. Even though he knew that the young miss was a cultivator, he didn't have the money to buy the herbs for her cultivation. Back then, he had to spend 1 or 2 million just to buy a set of herbs, and that was after the discount. The tens of thousands of yuan that he scammed was not even comparable to a drizzle. It wasn't enough to do anything. Apart from the herbs, the most essential thing on the path of cultivation was the spirit jade that could be used to assist cultivation. Xiaochen didn't forget that he had racked his brains to find a piece of spirit jade previously. There was no place to look for it now. However, if he could go to Little Hong's medicine store, he could use his identity to get some free herbs. But in this way, Xiao Chen's original appearance would have to be restored. He didn't want to expose his identity so quickly. After all, the person in the medicine store wasn't Hongzhu and was only a stranger to him. Who knew if he could keep his mouth shut? It was better to be cautious. At the thought of this, Xiao Chen missed Hongzhu and wondered how she was doing recently. After she left in a hurry, the two of them hadn't seen each other again. He vaguely heard that the Hong family seemed to have some problems, but he didn't know if she had solved it. In fact, Xiao Chen thought of a way, which was to secretly borrow some money from Xia Zhili and make a trip to the Hakanamata desert. There were countless desert hermit scorpions there. If he could stay there for a period of time, not only would he be able to obtain spirit stones for the young miss cultivation, but he could also earn a lot of living expenses. However, the risk factor of this action was too high. Xiao Chen didn't mind it, but he couldn't leave the young miss alone in Songning City. It would be terrible if she ran into trouble when she left. He couldn't think of a suitable way for the time being. In desperation, Xiao Chen could only helplessly ask for help from the Elder Heaven Ancestor. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what should I do? I have no money and no spirit stones now. How can I let the young miss cultivation speed catch up? Isn't it simple? The Elder Heaven Ancestor said with contempt. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you have a way? Sure enough, Master is more powerful. Tell me quickly. Xiao Chen was overjoyed and quickly asked. The two of you can do dual cultivation. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said matter-of-factly, since both of you are cultivators, the speed of dual cultivation will definitely be fast. It will be much faster than when you and Yi Xiaoya practiced dual cultivation. Dual cultivation? This. Xiao Chen was shocked, and he immediately recalled the charming scene of him dual cultivating with Yi Xiaoya at that time. As he looked at the lovely and moving eldest young miss before him, he instantly let his imagination run wild and blurted out, Eldest young miss, I've thought of a good idea. We can dual cultivate. In this way, you can upgrade your level very quickly. How do we do it? Just like you and Yi Xiaoya? Cheng Menjing was stunned and asked with a red face. Although she was eager to improve her strength, she hadn't thought about further development with Xiao Chen. Does this Xiao Chen have an ulterior motive? Well, dual cultivation is actually very simple. After Yi Xiaoya practiced dual cultivation with me, she upgraded faster than taking an elevator. You're definitely better than her. Xiao Chen nodded with a smile. I don't want to. I'm just your fiancé. Don't dream of having a relationship beyond friendship with me before we get married. I'm not as shameless as Yi Xiaoya. Seeing Xiao Chen's wretched smile, Cheng Menjing was sure that this guy definitely had bad intentions, so she immediately rejected him. No, dual cultivation isn't actually that. You're thinking too much. Dual cultivation means. Xiao Chen rubbed his nose awkwardly and gave a simple explanation of the concept of dual cultivation. Of course, Xiao Chen thought that if young miss was really willing to do that with him, maybe she would upgrade faster, like sitting on a rocket. But since she didn't have this idea, there was no need for Xiao Chen to say it. If he was not careful, he would be beaten up for no reason. Then we still have to take off our clothes, right? Even if we don't take it off, when we upgrade, the clothes on our body will be shattered? Cheng Menjing blinked her eyes and raised the question in her heart. When she was practicing before, she had encountered this kind of embarrassing situation. When she upgraded, her clothes would be shattered. But fortunately, they were all in the room at that time, and no one saw it. Yeah. But we can practice dual cultivation with a curtain between us, so you don't have to worry about what I will see. Xiao Chen said after thinking about it. I see, then give me some time. Let me think about it first. Cheng Menjing suddenly fell into a dilemma and began to struggle. She wanted to gain strength, but she didn't want to let Xiao Chen take advantage of her. Although there was a curtain, Cheng Menjing also knew that with the ability of a cultivator, that curtain was nothing at all. Okay, then I will go and cook first. Let me know when you think about it. Xiaofan also knew Cheng Menjing's character. She would definitely be entangled in this kind of thing for a long time, so he was not in a hurry to urge her. Instead, he went to busy himself. The days passed by peacefully. The two still got up early to sell fried dough sticks. Although they were very tired, and they would quarrel from time to time, they both felt that this kind of life was very warm in their hearts. Cheng Menjing had gradually mastered various skills of a cultivator. After continuous training, her 6 senses had become stronger. Under Xiaofan's guidance, she was like a fish in water when making fried dough sticks and fried cakes. She shared a lot of the workload for Xiaofan. Therefore, the two's business became more and more prosperous. Early in the morning every day, there would be a long line waiting to buy their fried dough sticks. If it weren't for the fact that they were on the run, Xiaofan would have thought about opening another branch. As for the matter of dual cultivation, the miss seemed to have completely forgotten it and never mentioned it again. If she didn't mention it, Xiaofan couldn't take the initiative to mention it, so he could only put it aside for now. On this night, Xiaofan was concentrating on cultivation in his room. Suddenly, he felt a murderous aura approaching from afar. It was quickly approaching the direction of this community. Xiaofan suddenly became vigilant. He thought in his heart, it seems that what will come will come. My whereabouts are still exposed. Chapter 882. But what puzzled Xiaofan was, how did Ma Peizha find him? Logically speaking, it shouldn't be Miss Xing who snitched on him. Otherwise, Ma Peizha would have come to kill him long ago. But apart from her, who else in Songning City knew that he was selling fried dough sticks in the morning market street and living in Tang Tang's house? It was even more impossible for Lu Shuangshuang. They hadn't seen each other since the last time they parted. Even if they followed the vine to the melon, the vine would have been rotten long ago. Xiaofan was puzzled. In fact, Ma Baobao had been staying in Songning City all this time. He had been looking for Xiaofan like crazy, but he still couldn't find him. He had almost turned the entire Songning City upside down. In the end, after searching for a long time, one of his disciples finally found some connections in the warrior guild and found out about some of Xiaofan's experiences after he fell from grace. The news was relayed to Headmaster Ma Peizha. Only then did he recall what Red Hair said before and finally locked on to Tang Tang's house. After confirming Xiaofan's whereabouts, Ma Peizha brought his disciples and rushed to the neighborhood near the morning market street overnight. He went straight to the place where Xiaofan lived and was ready to catch him in one fell swoop. As soon as he arrived at the unit where Xiaofan lived, Ma Peizha saw the window on the 3rd floor was suddenly pushed open. Xiaofan and Cheng Menjing rode on their flying swords and rushed out with a whoosh. It seemed that they were ready to escape. Humph! You want to play the same trick again? You won't be able to escape even if you have wings this time. Ma Peizha wasn't surprised. Instead, he snorted and waved his hand in the direction of Xiaofan. A big net with barbs whizzed out and directly covered Xiaofan and Cheng Menjing. F***CK. What the hell is this? Xiaofan, who was standing on the flying sword, was startled. Before he could react, he was covered tightly by the net. He wanted to struggle free, but he didn't expect that there were countless barbs stuck to the net. They firmly hooked onto his clothes, making it impossible for him to break free. Just the fact that the barbs had hooked onto his clothes was secondary. The key was that when Xiaofan's skin was pierced by the barbs, he immediately felt his entire body tremble. The surface of his skin was instantly paralyzed, and he could not even circulate his primordial qi. Unable to control the flying swords, the two of them instantly lost their balance and fell from the sky, falling straight down the stairs. Ah! Xiaofan! Quickly think of a way! Cheng Menjing screamed, her voice trembling. Although she also knew that as a cultivator, falling from the third floor wouldn't be a problem. It was still the first time for her to directly face such a big crisis, so she was a little scared. Bang! Before Xiao Chen could reply, he and Cheng Menjing fell to the ground with a loud thud. Fortunately, their cultivation wasn't weak, so it wasn't a big deal. As they didn't have primordial qi to protect their bodies, although Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing weren't seriously injured, they were still shaken to the point that they were dizzy. Ugh! Cheng Menjing groaned in pain. She opened her eyes slightly and realized that she wasn't injured at all. Slightly surprised, Cheng Menjing quickly felt that the bottom of her body seemed to be soft, not like the ground. Only after taking a closer look did she realize that Xiao Chen had protected her in his arms, using his body as a cushion to protect her. That was why she was safe and unscathed. Thinking of this, Cheng Menjing was a little worried and a little touched. She wanted to struggle to stand up, but the moment she moved, she touched a few wounds on Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen couldn't bear it and cried out in pain, "Ouch, Xiao Chen, how are you?" Cheng Menjing was shocked. She wanted to climb down from Xiao Chen's body, but she didn't dare to move too much. She looked around and saw that the net that trapped them was stuck with many sharp barbs. She panicked and didn't know what to do. "Menjing, don't be nervous, I'm fine. Think of a way to get rid of this net first, but the barbs on it seem a little strange. Be careful, don't get pricked." Xiao Chen gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He tried to circulate his primordial qi, but found that something seemed to have invaded his body, paralyzing several meridians, and his primordial qi couldn't circulate smoothly. "Okay, I'll try. But this net is so strange." Cheng Menjing tried to tear the net apart, but she felt that not only was she unable to open it, but it was also getting tighter. Moreover, there was a lot of mucus on the net that stuck her fingers, and she couldn't exert any strength at all. "Ha ha ha. Don't waste your effort, this is an inescapable net weaved by the ancient spider spirit beast. You can't get rid of it. As for the barbs, I specially asked the craftsman to add them. I also smeared a poison that can paralyze a cultivator for a short period of time, and block the devil qi in the body. Even a Daluo Golden Immortal can't do anything about it." Ma Wuxia said proudly. In order to deal with Xiao Chen's untraceable flying sword, Ma Wuxia had gone all out this time. He took out the sect's only ancient divine weapon. Humph. I can't believe that the sect leader of the Kuei Mountain sect would use such despicable methods. You're even more shameless than me. Xiao Chen didn't seem to be moved, but he was very anxious. He could only ask the heavens, no, Elder Heaven Ancestor, for help. Elder Heaven Ancestor. Quick, help me think of a way to break this inescapable net. Tisk, tsk. Now that your primordial qi is paralyzed, you can't do anything. Also, Nethery is in a dormant state, or she could have burned the net. Elder Heaven Ancestor was not as anxious as Xiao Chen. Instead, he said leisurely, "Who asked you to be so impulsive, wanting to kill that Ma Wuxia? Look, you've gotten yourself into big trouble now, haven't you? F***ck. Do you think I want to? Stop making sarcastic remarks. That Ma Wuxia has already heated up his lunch, waiting for me to collect it. You don't want to see your disciple get beaten to death, do you?" Xiao Chen was a little helpless. At this critical moment, Elder Heaven Ancestor still had the time to joke. "I say, Xiao Chen, you don't seem to understand. Although you can't use your primordial qi, your fiancé can. Why don't you just let her use a fireball technique to burn the net? However, with her level of cultivation, it will take a little more time." Elder Tian let out a long sigh and said unhurriedly. "Holy sh*t, you're clearly messing with me. Where do I have the time to wait for her to burn the net? How about, when Ma Wuxia attacks, you help me take a palm strike?" Xiao Chen was anxious. He didn't expect that at this critical moment, Elder Heaven Ancestor would not think about something practical and keep coming up with some stupid ideas. Sure. Elder Heaven Ancestor agreed happily, but then he said, but I haven't recovered to my best condition, and there's no little demonin and nethery to help share the damage. Even if I help you block it, you'll die. F***CK. Xiao Chen was speechless. He had a glimmer of hope, but Elder Heaven Ancestor extinguished it directly. Depressed, he whispered to Qing Menjing, young lady, I'll distract Ma Wuxia later. You use the fireball technique I taught you as soon as possible to burn this net. Okay, I'll give it a try. Qing Menjing nodded slightly and replied softly. Although Qing Menjing didn't know if she could do it with her strength, she could only do as Xiao Chen said. Xiao Chen, how about it? Have you finished saying your last words to your little lover? I don't have time to wait for you to write your last words. I'll send you down now to be buried with my son. Ma Wuxia was afraid that Xiao Chen would play some tricks again, so he didn't bother to talk to him and directly slapped Xiao Chen. Young lady, now is the time. Xiao Chen gestured to Qing Menjing to destroy the net, while he gritted his teeth and protected her behind him. Looking at Ma Wuxia approaching quickly, Xiao Chen secretly prayed that he would accidentally step on a banana peel when he rushed over and get seriously injured, so that he could buy some time. However, Xiao Chen's wish didn't come true. The road between him and Ma Wuxia was smooth, without any banana peels. Just as Ma Wuxia's palm wind was about to touch Xiao Chen, a man in black with a bag on his back suddenly blocked in front of him. Without saying a word, he directly raised his hand to meet Ma Wuxia's palm. Bang! There was a loud noise. The man in black also displayed his extremely strong strength, forcibly blocking Ma Wuxia's attack. After the two powerful demonic auras collided, it formed a shock wave that spread in all directions. The turbulent airflow sent all the Kuei Mountain sect disciples who were standing at the side to watch the show flying. You're in the Great Perfection realm of Demon King level 10. Ma Wuxia didn't expect that someone would rush out to stop him. In a panic, his breath was slightly messed up, and he was shaken a few steps back. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at the man in black in front of him, his face full of horror. Just now, Ma Wuxia was afraid that Xiao Chen had a backup plan, so he didn't use all his strength in that palm strike. However, the man in black's palm strike had the strength of the Great Perfection realm of Demon King level 10. Therefore, although the two of them were of the same level, Ma Wuxia was obviously at a disadvantage when their palms collided. However, the man in black didn't feel good either. Although he didn't spit out blood like Ma Wuxia, his internal organs also churned, and he was almost shaken out of place. You. Who are you? Tell me your name if you have the guts. Sneaking around, what kind of man are you? Ma Wuxia asked with a sullen face. Since he already knew that the other party's strength was the same as his, Ma Wuxia didn't dare to act rashly. I'm the hero bandit who robbed the rich to help the poor, Robin Hood. I hate people like you who bully the weak the most. You actually killed this kind of commoner, so shameless. If you still want to live, then go back obediently. The man in black snorted coldly. Although he couldn't see the man in black's face clearly, Xiao Chen could immediately tell from her voice and figure that this person was no doubt Chick Xing. Her claim of Robin Hood was definitely made up. However, what puzzled Xiao Chen was why Chick Xing would suddenly help him. Chapter 883. Could it be that she had spied on him for so long just to save him? Could it be that she wanted to repay his kindness because he had treated her previously? You're not from the Xia kingdom? Ma Peja was a little shocked. Where did this guy come from? Robin Hood was a foreign name. And he was actually a hero thief. Why did all foreign thieves have such high cultivation? Humph. Don't talk nonsense. Do you want to live or do you want to know where I am from? Miss Xing asked expressionlessly. In order to monitor Xiao Chen at all times, she and Ling Qianxue had rented a house in the district where Xiao Chen lived. Just now, she had felt Ma Peixia's killing intent, so she rushed over and hid at the side to observe. She originally thought that Xiao Chen could smoothly escape with the help of the flying sword, but she didn't expect to be caught by Ma Peixia's inescapable net. Miss Xing had no choice but to change into Ling Qianxue's nocturnal clothes and dress up as a thief to help. Wah-ya-ya-ya-ya. You little brat, how dare you challenge me? I will make sure you die without a burial place. Ma Peixia was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. Feeling that his injuries had slightly recovered, he roared and flew towards Miss Xing. Although Ma Peixia seemed to be foolhardy in his rage and directly rushed forward, in reality, he had secretly used a hidden weapon between his index finger and thumb when he waved his palm. If one didn't observe carefully, it was basically impossible to tell. Seeing Ma Peixia's action, Miss Xing was momentarily stunned. After exchanging blows with Ma Peixia, she could clearly feel that his injuries were heavier than hers. She didn't expect him to still dare to take the initiative to attack. Could it be that he has a special recovery technique and has already healed his injuries? But that's not very likely. How could the Kai Tian sect not know what good things the Kuei Shan sect had? Although she was muttering in her heart, Miss Xing's movements did not have the slightest bit of hesitation. She once again struck out towards Ma Peixia. But at this moment, she suddenly heard Xiao Chen shout from behind, "Lady boy! Don't touch Ma Peixia's palm." It turned out that at that moment, with the help of the moonlight, Xiao Chen saw a flash of light in Ma Wuzhuan's palm and immediately understood his intention. However, Xiao Chen's reminder came too late. Before he could finish his sentence, Xing and Ma Beiqi's palms were already touching. Bang! Another loud sound rang out. An even stronger airflow spread out from the space between little Chick Xing and Ma Weijia. Under the impact of the airflow, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing were instantly blown away and fell to the ground not far away. Fortunately, Cheng Menjing had already burned a hole in the inescapable net, and the two of them broke free from the control of the inescapable net. You're so despicable. To actually use such a vicious concealed weapon. Under the exchange of palms, Miss Xing's body trembled. Her skin felt numb as if an electric current had passed through it. Her legs went soft and she fell to the ground. She discovered that there was a shiny barb in her palm. She was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Pooh! Ma Beiqi spat out a mouthful of black blood. He was already seriously injured and his skills were greatly reduced. Now that he had forcefully exchanged a palm with Miss Xing, not only did he not kill her, but he had also aggravated his internal injuries. However, his trick had still succeeded. Although Miss Xing was not seriously injured, the concealed weapon was smeared with a numbing poison. Once it entered her body, she would not be able to move for a short period of time. As long as he could control this strange nocturnal bandit, he would be able to find time to kill Xiao Chen. Ma Beiqi did not care about Miss Xing on the ground. He forcefully used his remaining trace of demonic qi and directly chased in the direction that Xiao Chen had escaped. At this time, Xiao Chen was still running with difficulty. Beside him was a limping Cheng Menjing. After breaking free from the inescapable net, there were still a few barbs in Xiao Chen's body. It was difficult to get them out in a short period of time, so he could not use sword kinesis flight. He could only stumble forward. However, no matter how hard Xiao Chen tried, he could not run fast. After running for a short distance, Ma Beiqi was about to catch up. Ha ha ha. Xiao Chen, don't struggle pointlessly. Just obediently give up. What's that? Ma Beiqi enjoyed the feeling of beating a drowning dog and laughed arrogantly. His attention was originally focused on Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, a black shadow suddenly appeared beside him, giving Ma Beiqi a fright. Ma Beiqi looked down and realized that the black shadow was a black mutt. His originally nervous mood immediately relaxed. He raised his leg indifferently and wanted to kick the dog away. However, he did not expect that the dog's speed was so fast. It went past his leg and directly bit down on his crotch. Ouch! Ma Beiki howled in pain and knelt down. He covered his bloody lower body and kept rolling on the ground. After the mutt bit down, it did not stop and chased after Xiao Chen's back. Wow, invincible dog, beautifully done. It is really worth it for me to raise you so well. Later, I will reward you with a can of high-grade dog food. Xiao Chen gave Invincible Dog a thumbs up and praised. He also saw the thrilling scene just now. If it was not for Invincible Dog's stroke of genius, perhaps he and Miss would really have to die here today. Stingy. Invincible Dog made a great contribution this time. Even if you give him high-grade dog food for the rest of his life, it will not be a problem. Cheng Menjing snorted in disgust. While running away, she did not forget to pat Invincible Dog's head twice to show encouragement. Woof! Invincible Dog barked loudly. He ran while wagging his tail, looking very proud. At this time, little Chick Xing finally pulled out the barbs on her palm. The numbness in her body also disappeared. She was about to die from anger. No matter what, she had the strength of a Demon King level 10 great perfection, yet she was defeated by such a low-grade hidden weapon. If Ma Beiki was not in a hurry to chase after Xiao Chen just now, she would have been killed. The more little Chick Xing thought about it, the angrier she got. She looked up and saw Ma Beiki rolling on the ground not far away. She immediately stood up and rushed over. She punched and kicked Ma Beiki to vent the anger in her heart. Puff! Ma Beiki already had serious internal injuries. In addition, his penis was bitten off by Invincible Dog. At this time, he was unable to resist little Chick Xing's storm-like punches and kicks. He was beaten until he vomited blood. He could only protect his head and face and passively take the beating. After beating for a while, little Chick Xing could only stop when she saw Ma Beiki's bruised appearance. She couldn't really kill this guy. Otherwise, she would not be able to explain to Elder Sun when she returned. Humph. I'm in a good mood today. I'll spare your dog life for now. After beating him up, little Chick Xing's anger was almost gone. She snorted coldly and kicked Ma Beiki again. Then, she disappeared into the darkness and chased in the direction where Xiao Chen escaped. Ma Beiki, who was beaten to the face, was extremely depressed. What the F***ck was going on? Not only did he not kill Xiao Chen, but a Demon King level 10 great perfection appeared out of nowhere to oppose him. Moreover, there was also a spiritual beast dog at the peak of Demon Master level 10. When did so many tough things appear in the secular world? Could it be that I went the wrong way and went to the inner martial arts world? In desperation, Ma Beiki could only accept his bad luck. He endured the pain on his body and crawled up with difficulty. He ran back to the Quishan sect overnight to recuperate. He planned to find trouble with Xiao Chen after some time. However, his injuries could be recovered, but Ma Beiki's manly spirit could no longer be restored. He didn't know where Invincible Dog threw the thing it bit off. He couldn't find it after searching for a long time, so he could only leave dejectedly. Xiao Chen, where are we going? Can we no longer sell youtiao in the future? Cheng Menjing was already standing on the flying sword that Xiao Chen was riding at this time. She held Invincible Dog in her arms and asked with a solemn face. In fact, Cheng Menjing quite missed the days of selling youtiao. Although she was always tired from waking up early to sleeping late every day, and she always had to worry that she would be seen through, she lived a very fulfilling life. Missy felt that her life seemed to be more stable than before when she didn't have to worry about food and clothing. Now that she couldn't sell youtiao, she was a little disappointed. She originally wanted to take some time to return to the Cheng family to tell them that she was safe, but she never had the chance to go. She felt very upset, and she didn't know how her father and grandfather were doing recently. Let's go hide in Lon City first. Ma Beiki is seriously injured, so he can't do anything to us for the time being. However, we can't let our guard down either. It'll be too dangerous if we stay in Songning City, Xiaochen replied calmly, but he was thinking about something else. Xiaochen was a little surprised by Miss Xing's help. Awakening Sect was obviously the backer of the Kuei Mountain sect in the martial arts world. She should have joined forces with Ma Beiki to deal with him. In the end, not only did she not help, but she blocked the attack for him and even injured the other party. What kind of inside story was hidden in this? But, we don't even have a place to stay when we go to Lan City. We only have tens of thousands of yuan left. How are we going to sustain ourselves? Cheng Menjing asked worriedly. Now that their only source of income had been cut off, would they have to rely on begging to survive from now on? Let's take it one step at a time. If it really doesn't work, I'll use the money to start a small business. Don't worry, Missy. As long as I'm here, I won't let you go hungry. Xiaochen smiled bitterly and shook his head. When he was in dire straits, he couldn't even afford a bowl of noodles, but didn't he still make it through? There was nothing that couldn't be done, only the determination that wasn't brave enough. Alright, that's the only way. Cheng Menjing nodded helplessly. It was already late at night when they arrived at Lan City. Xiaochen randomly found an express hotel to stay in. In order to save money, he only booked the cheapest standard room with 2 beds for 2 people. Cheng Menjing didn't object. She was already used to sleeping in the same room with Xiaochen. If they were really separated, she wouldn't be used to it. The next morning, Xiaochen and Cheng Menjing both woke up and went to the hotel's restaurant for breakfast. Chapter 884. During the meal, the two noticed many parents checking into hotels with their children. From their conversation, they could tell that these people were obviously going to report to the nearby Lan City University. Looking at the excited students, Cheng Menjing suddenly remembered that it was time for the start of university. If she hadn't met with so many accidents back then, she would definitely have gone to university too. But now, she was running for her life, on the run everywhere. Not only did she live in fear every day, she also had to worry about how to earn money to live. It seemed that she would never have the chance to step into a university in this lifetime. Eldest Miss, do you want to experience university life too? Seeing Cheng Menjing's envious and melancholic expression, Xiaochen guessed what was on her mind and felt a little guilty. If it wasn't for his momentary impulse, would the eldest miss be so miserable that she would have to run for her life with him? No matter what, he had to make it up to her. I'm just thinking about it. I can't even pay the tuition fees now, and I'm still on the run. Sigh. Cheng Menjing sighed, her tone full of disappointment. If I had a way to let you study at Lan City University for free, would you go? Xiaochen asked as he took out his phone. His hands didn't stop moving as he swiftly swapped in a new SIM card he bought from a roadside stall a few days ago. TSK, you make it sound nice. Do you think you're the one who opened the university? Do you think you can go just because you say so? Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes, but she was secretly looking forward to it. Could it be that Xiaochen really had the ability? Xiaochen smiled and didn't choose to bicker with Cheng Menjing. Instead, he dialed a number on his phone. Hello, who is this? After the call connected, a middle-aged man's voice came from the other end after a while. Deputy Director Xia, I'm Xiaochen. I'm staying in Lan City now, and I need your help with something. Xiaochen originally wanted to call Ling Tian, but felt that he might be busy, so he called Xia Zhili instead. It's you. Why did you go to Lan City again? Is there a problem? Xia Zhili was surprised. I did run into some trouble. Yesterday, my identity was exposed by Ma Wuxia. He brought a group of people to find me in the middle of the night, and then. Xiaochen briefly recounted what happened last night. I see. What do you plan to do next? What did you want me to help you with? After Xia Zhili heard this, he felt a headache coming on. Unfortunately, there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was injured and wouldn't appear in the near future. He should give Xiao Chen some help in other aspects. Oh, it's not a big deal. Cheng Menjing and I want to study at Lanqing University, so I'd like to ask for your help in arranging the admission procedures here, Xiao Chen said lightly. No problem. I'll send someone to do it. Wait for my news. Xia Zhili readily agreed. Although he didn't know why Xiao Chen suddenly wanted to go to university, he didn't plan to get to the bottom of it. Xiao Chen must have his own reasons for doing so. Thank you, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, Xiao Chen nodded. He knew that Xia Zhili would definitely be able to solve the problem, so he didn't say anything else. Why are you being so polite with me? It's nothing. Xia Zhili brushed over this matter. Then, he suddenly thought of something and said, "Oh right. Because your bank card is being monitored, your salary is still with me for the time being. If you need any money, just let me know." Okay, I understand. Xiao Chen chatted with Xia Zhili for a while longer before hanging up. He gave an "okay" gesture to Cheng Menjing. Just a phone call? You've already settled the university procedures? Cheng Menjing asked doubtfully. Yeah, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau still has some power in the secular world. This kind of small matter can be settled in minutes. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said indifferently. Cheng Menjing still didn't believe it. She thought that Xiao Chen was bragging, so she didn't take it to heart and changed the topic. It wasn't until that afternoon that Xia Zhili personally sent the admission notice to the two of them and specially gave Xiao Chen a large sum of money that Cheng Menjing believed what Xiao Chen said was true. She was sincerely convinced by him. After receiving the admission notice, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing followed the photo and transformed themselves into two other people. Because the appearance in the photo wasn't too outstanding, it wouldn't attract the attention of others. The department that Xia Zhili arranged for them was inconspicuous, and the major that they studied couldn't be any more unpopular. This was also because Xia Zhili was afraid that they would be too ostentatious, so he deliberately made it more low-key. Department of Archaeology. Ancient Martial Arts Research Major? Xiao Chen looked at the major on the admission notice and wondered, what the hell is this major? I've never heard of it. Who would study such a minor major for no reason? This Xia Zhili isn't reliable at all. Don't be so calculative. Do you want to enter the arts department and take the opportunity to hook up with beautiful girls? Cheng Menjing pouted. She didn't care much about the major. It was already good enough to be able to attend university, but she didn't know how long she could stay there. If she was discovered by the Quishan sect, she would probably have to run for her life again. With you, my legitimate fiancé, by my side, how would I dare to touch other girls? Otherwise, if I get beaten up by a powerful cultivator like you, wouldn't I be asking for trouble? I won't do such a thing where the losses outweigh the gains. Xiao Chen smiled and shook his head. Humph. That's nice to hear. Didn't you flirt with Lu Shuangshuang in front of me before? Now, you're serious. Although Cheng Menjing didn't sound very happy, she was very happy in her heart. It seemed that Xiao Chen still placed her in a very important position. How would I know that you were watching from upstairs? Xiao Chen touched his nose and muttered. Cheng Menjing glared at him and snatched the admission notice from his hand. Oh yeah. I have to change our names. It'll be easier to call each other in the future, so that we won't be noticed. Xiao Chen didn't object. After Cheng Menjing finished writing, he looked over and saw that his name was written Xiao Yi, and the lady's name was Cheng Yaoyao. Looking at the name change notice, Cheng Menjing nodded in satisfaction and handed it to Xiao Chen. Take it. Remember, if someone calls Xiao Yi in the future, don't be in a daze. It'll be troublesome if you accidentally expose yourself. Yes, Miss Cheng Yaoyao, Xiao Chen said helplessly. However, this admission notice was special. The school didn't have a record, and the name could be filled in casually. As long as the Supernatural Investigation Bureau contacted them, it would be fine. What should we do next? It's getting late. It looks like we can only report tomorrow. Cheng Menjing looked out the window. The sky was gradually darkening. Why don't we do what we love to do, eh? Xiao Chen was only halfway through his joke when he saw Cheng Menjing frowning and glaring at him with an unfriendly expression. He had no choice but to change his words. Let's go to the supermarket to buy some daily necessities. Otherwise, we'll be at a loss when we get to the dormitory. Humph. At least you said something reasonable. Cheng Menjing snorted and left the hotel with Xiao Chen. They first went to a small restaurant nearby to eat something for dinner. Then, they went to a large supermarket next to the restaurant. Since the two of them fled to Lon City overnight, they basically didn't bring anything with them. Other than buying some daily necessities, they also had to buy a few sets of clothes and 2 large suitcases. Xiao Chen was very casual. To him, it didn't matter what he wore, so he quickly chose. On the other hand, Cheng Menjing was different. She used to wear famous brands and used imported shampoo and shower gel. Therefore, she didn't buy anything in the supermarket at all. It took her a long time to choose from the shelves. After buying everything else, she even bought a few sets of underwear and panties. Only then did she pay the bill and return to the hotel in satisfaction. Early the next morning, Xiao Chen checked out of the room. He and Cheng Menjing first found a pet shop to keep invincible. Then, they carried a pile of luggage and walked to Lon City University to report. It was Cheng Menjing's first time entering a university. Everything she saw was new. After all, Lon City University was several times bigger than Songningno. 2 High School. She couldn't see the end of it at a glance. The young lady who had just entered a university looked at the parents and students in 2s and 3s around her. She couldn't help but feel a little excited. Xiao Chen, on the other hand, led the way in front with a calm expression. He had stayed in Lanqing University for a period of time before, so he was very familiar with the distribution of the various office buildings, so he directly led Cheng Menjing in the direction of the new student registration center. Xiao Chen. Watching Xiao Chen walk forward, Cheng Menjing was a little puzzled. Why does this guy seem to have been here before? She was about to ask about the situation but accidentally blurted out Xiao Chen's name. She hurriedly coughed twice to cover it up. Ahem. Xiao Yi, do you know the new student registration office? I feel like you're very familiar with this university. Oh, I came to Lon City University for a mission before, so I'm quite familiar with the environment. Xiao Chen said lightly. He didn't want to explain too much lest the young lady get jealous again. Cheng Menjing was stunned. Did you come here for a mission? Why didn't Xiao Chen mention this to me? Just as she was about to ask more questions, a gentle male voice came over. Beautiful junior, which faculty are you going to? Do you know the way? Why don't you let Senior Ice Cream take you there? Hearing this voice, although Cheng Menjing's expression didn't change, she was a little surprised and excited in her heart. She had also heard that there would be a lot of sophomore and junior year students who would take the opportunity to hook up with beautiful girls during the new student registration office. But her current appearance was very ordinary. Why did she encounter such a thing? Chapter 885. Is it because of her natural beauty? Even if she transforms into another face, it's difficult to conceal her inner elegance. Yes. That must be the case. It seems like the seniors of Lon City University have good taste. While Cheng Menjing was still immersed in her fantasy, another girl's voice responded to the senior. Thank you, senior, but I'm still waiting for a friend to leave with me. I won't trouble you. Cheng Menjing was stunned again. When she raised her head, she realized that a girl who was not inferior to her original appearance was standing not far away. Beside her stood a very handsome boy. The boy's skin was as fair as ice cream, and he was tall and handsome. One look and you could tell that he was a pretty boy. In an instant, Cheng Menjing's face burned. She almost made a big mistake. Fortunately, her appearance had been transformed. Even if she looked like a piece of red cloth, no one would be able to tell. Wuxia, there are too many students in this university. There's a long line just to use the restroom. Sister Xiaofan almost couldn't hold it in just now. The senior, Ice Cream, wanted to continue, but he was pushed to the side by Tian Xiaofan and almost fell to the ground. Xiao Chen was also stunned when he heard the voice. He couldn't help but feel surprised. He turned to look at the source of the voice and realized that it was Tian Xiaofan and Su Wuxia. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? That's right, Su Wuxia and Tian Xiaofan were also here to report to Lan City University. As soon as they entered, Tian Xiaofan ran to find the restroom, while Su Wuxia, who waited in place, ran into Ice Cream, a senior who specialized in seducing new juniors. Ice Cream's name was Shui Gao. He was the young master of Lan City's Shui family. Because of his fair appearance and refined manners, many girls nicknamed him Ice Cream. Despite Shui Gao's sanctimonious appearance, he had actually harmed many new girls in secret. However, to the surprise of those who didn't know the truth, he had never been scolded because of this. The reason was also very simple. After Shui Gao got bored of those girls, he would use all kinds of bitter reasons to break up with them. For example, there was a huge disparity in their family background, and their parents didn't agree to it. Or, it was not the girl's first time, and it would bring shame to her family, and so on. This would make the girl feel guilty, and then she would take the opportunity to give the other party a considerable sum of money as compensation. Some of the inexperienced girls naturally didn't understand Shui Gao's sinister intentions and were easily convinced by his words. There were also some girls who came for the money. Since Shui Gao was willing to pay, they didn't care about anything else. Of course, as the saying goes, if you often walk by the river, how could you not wet your shoes? Sometimes, there were some girls who really liked Shui Gao, so after they broke up, they refused to accept his money, and they didn't believe his lies. They insisted that Shui Gao give them an explanation. Then, he would use the power of his family to find someone to settle the matter with the girl. Little girl, are you blind? You even dare to push Senior Ice Cream? Hurry up and apologize. Seeing that Shui Gao was pushed, his subordinates hurriedly steadied him, then pointed at Tian sourly and scolded. You're the blind one. It was clearly this pretty boy blocking the way. Sister Source merely gave him a light touch and he was sent flying to the side. Your body is too weak, yet you still have the nerve to blame others? Tian Source rolled his eyes as he spoke rudely. You. That subordinate wanted to continue scolding, but he was stopped by Shui Gao. Turning his head, Shui Gao smiled at Tian sourly and said, Hee, this junior is right. It was indeed my fault. I shouldn't have blocked your way. Senior Ice Cream apologizes to you. The reason why Shui Gao was so tolerant was mainly because Su Wuxia and Tian Suruan were just too beautiful. He had been in Lancheng University for so many years, and other than the campus belle, Ling Qianyu, he had never seen a girl of such high quality. Originally, he wanted to make a move on Ling Qianyu, but her background was too powerful. Although the Shui family was prestigious in Lan City, they didn't dare to go against the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. As for some traditional techniques to pick up girls, such as sending flowers and treating them to meals, Ling Qianyu was completely immune to them. Shui Gao tried for a long time, but to no avail. In the end, he could only choose to give up. Since you're so sincere, Big Sister sourly will forgive you. You can kneel and rest. Tian sourly waved her hand casually, then turned to Su Wuxia and said, Wuxia, have you found the registration counter for the metal material engineering major? Let's hurry up and settle the admission procedures, then go eat. Are you a pig? You just had breakfast, and you're hungry again? Su Chuxia glared at her and pointed not far away. There, we'll register over there. Let's move our luggage to the dormitory first, then find the cafeteria to eat. Okay. Let's hurry over. Tian sourly nodded excitedly, then ran over with Su Chuxia, leaving Shuigao standing there in a daze. He didn't know what to say. By the time he opened his mouth to ask them to stay, the two girls had already run far away. Although Xiao Chen was registering, his ears weren't idle. When he heard that the two girls were applying for the metal material engineering major, he couldn't help but be stunned. Although this major wasn't as unpopular as his major, it wasn't popular either. Moreover, most of the students were male. Didn't the girls usually apply for the literature or art majors? However, after thinking about it carefully, Xiao Chen understood. Su Chuxia must have applied for this major to inherit her father's career. As for Tian sourly, he was probably just a bystander, hanging around Su Chuxia's side. Because Xiao Chen looked different now, after completing the admission procedures, he didn't greet the two girls. Instead, he brought Cheng Menjing to the other side and prepared to register at the archaeology department. Not long after, Su Chuxia and Tian sourly were also done. The two of them were looking left and right for the female dormitory. Shuigao, who had been waiting at the back, saw them and immediately went up to them. He smiled innocently and said, "Two beauties, are you done with the admission procedures? I wonder if this senior has the honor to treat you to lunch?" "Huh? Chuxia, don't you think that person looks like Xiao Chang?" Just as Su Chuxia was about to refuse, Tian Suruan suddenly tugged on her sleeve and pointed excitedly at the back of a boy. "Sourly, are you crazy because you miss Xiao Chang? How could he appear in Lancheng University?" Su Chuxia replied. She looked in the direction Tian sourly was pointing and saw Xiao Chen's back. Tian sourly shook Su Chuxia's arm and said, "He really looks like him. Look carefully." "Huh? He really does look like him. It shouldn't be. Is he here on a mission again? Why didn't he tell us beforehand?" Su Chuxia mumbled softly. "Let's go and take a look." Seeing that Su Chuxia agreed, Tian sourly dragged her and chased after them. Hey! Sourly, what are you doing? Don't you see there's a girl beside him? Don't scare me." Su Chuxia was shocked and said helplessly. However, she wasn't as strong as Tian sourly, so she could only be dragged along. So what if that girl is Xiao Chang's girlfriend? At most, we'll have a threesome. Sister sourly doesn't have much time left. If we don't go crazy, we'll be done for, Tian sourly said nonchalantly as she ran. Hearing Tian sourly's words, Su Chuxia couldn't refute and could only follow her. At that moment, Shuigao, who was completely ignored by the two girls, had an extremely ugly expression on his face. It was as if he had been constipated for a few days. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in public, he would have exploded a long time ago. This was already the second time he was ignored by these two girls today. As the school hunk of Lancheng University, he used to be surrounded by girls wherever he went. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? "Big head, go and investigate these two girls and see where they come from," Shuigao ordered his subordinate as he stared at Su Chuxia and Tian sourly's backs. "Okay, young Master Shui. Just wait for my good news." Shuigao's subordinate, who was called Big Head, licked his lips and quickly ran to the new student registration counter. After a few words, he slapped a stack of money and bought Su Chuxia and Tian sourly's information. The student council members in charge of registration were also helpless. They didn't dare to anger the great Shuigao, so they could only obediently hand over the information. After all, they were just taking a photo for Big Head. It wasn't a dereliction of duty, right? Shuigao couldn't help but feel a little proud as he flipped through the information of the two girls. From the information, Su Chuxia's family was very ordinary, while Tian Sourli's family was even more unknown. Neither of them had a strong background. Since that was the case, Shuigao felt a lot more at ease. These two girls were probably new to the university and wanted to pretend to be innocent. As long as he took the initiative, he would be able to conquer them sooner or later. If he really couldn't do it, he would use force and take all of them. Since they didn't have any background, he wasn't afraid at all. Xiao Yi, you were staring at those two beautiful girls just now. Were you thinking of unhealthy things? Tell me the truth. Cheng Menjing was a little unhappy as she walked with Xiao Chen. This guy couldn't move at the sight of beautiful girls. With this kind of behavior, he would probably fall into the hands of women sooner or later. Slap. Before Xiao Chen could answer, he felt someone pat his shoulder. He turned around and was surprised to see Tian Sourli standing behind him. Behind her was Su Chuxia, who was panting. He pretended to be confused and asked, "Students, who are you looking for?" "Ah." Tian Sourli saw that it was a stranger who turned around and was instantly very disappointed. She waved her hand in embarrassment and said, "I'm sorry. Sorry to disturb you, I mistook you for someone else." "Oh, it's fine. You two are so beautiful. What are your names? Which faculty are you from? They say that it takes 500 times in a previous life to exchange for a painless abortion in this life. Since we are so fated, why don't we have a meal together?" Xiao Chen didn't plan to let them go so easily. He teased them with a smirk. Chapter 886. Pfft. I don't have time for you. You already have a girlfriend, and you're still trying to seduce us. You're definitely not a good person. I advise you to cherish what's in front of you, bye-bye. Tian Sourling said with a look of disgust. Then, he pulled Su Chuxia away as he cursed in his heart, "You're so ugly, yet you still have the nerve to flirt around. Moreover, you did it in front of your girlfriend. How shameless." However, Su Chuxia, who was dragged away by Tian Sourling, did not think so. She did not know why, but when she saw Xiao Chen, she felt a sense of familiarity with him even though he looked unfamiliar. It was as if the two of them had known each other for a long time. Could it be that they had looked back 500 times in their previous lives? Xiao Yi. I realize that you're getting more and more filthy. How dare you say, painless, in front of so many girls? What was that? Even if you're shameless, there should be a limit, alright? Cheng Menjing scolded him with a stern face after she watched Tian Sourling and Su Chuxia walk away. Huh, what's wrong with that? It's not like I don't know them. I was just joking. Xiao Chen shook his head with a smile. He did it on purpose to make Su Chuxia and Tian Sourling stop paying attention to him. You know them? Cheng Menjing was shocked. She asked suspiciously, "Don't tell me they're your mistresses, or mistresses. That's not it. Didn't I tell you just now? I was on a mission at Lancheng University. I was in charge of protecting a girl, the one just now." Xiao Chen shrugged. He briefly explained Su Chuxia and Tian Sourli's identities, as well as his mission. "Oh, I see. Looks like you're still hiding a lot from me." Cheng Menjing felt a little uncomfortable. She thought about it and asked, "You really have nothing to do with them?" Ever since she discovered the adultery between Xiao Chen and Lu Shuangshuang, Cheng Menjing became a little suspicious. As long as a beautiful girl talked to Xiao Chen, she would feel that there was something wrong. Don't let your imagination run wild. I really don't have that kind of relationship, but I'm on good terms with them. I should be considered good friends. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Otherwise, I wouldn't have made such a joke." "Well, I'll believe you this time. Just do what you say." Seeing that Xiao Chen's attitude was very indifferent, Cheng Menjing also believed 70% to 80%. She was too lazy to ask more. In any case, she would be able to see him every day. If she wanted to catch the adulterer, wouldn't it be a matter of minutes? The two of them came to the classroom of the ancient martial arts research major with big and small bags. In the end, they found that there were only 3 male students sitting in the entire classroom. Including Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing who were standing at the door, there were only a total of 5 people. The huge classroom seemed very deserted. However, Xiao Chen was not surprised by this scene. Archaeology was a very boring subject. Coupled with the fact that it was an unpopular major like ancient martial arts research, there was even less interest in applying for it. After all, it was not easy for young students to pass the college entrance examination. They all hoped to find a university that they liked and a popular major to study, such as international trade management, computer technology, or law. Moreover, it was easier for students who studied such major to find a job after graduation. Who would have nothing better to do and come to study ancient martial arts? After looking around the classroom, Xiao Chen carried his bags and walked in. Cheng Menjing followed behind him. Xiao Chen looked at the other 3 students sitting in the classroom without batting an eyelid. One of them seemed to be very aloof, sitting there expressionlessly. He only shot a glance at the new student and then ignored him. No one knew what he was thinking. The other one was silently reading a book. He did not even raise his head. Xiao Chen quietly glanced at him. He found that he was reading a book that looked like a martial arts secret book. However, he did not know what the content was. The person had only opened the middle 2 pages. Without being able to connect the context, Xiao Chen could not understand it at all. As for the remaining person, he was very enthusiastic. As soon as Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing stepped into the classroom, that person immediately greeted them with a smile. Hello. My name is Jia Muzhen. I am an ancient martial arts enthusiast. Jia Muzhen first shook hands with Xiao Chen. Then, he smiled and nodded to Cheng Menjing. After all, she was a girl. Although she was not very beautiful, it was not appropriate to casually shake hands. Hello, my name is Xiao Yi. This is my girlfriend, Cheng Yaoyao. We did not study ancient martial arts. It was only because we were curious that we signed up for this major. Xiao Chen said straightforwardly. Hearing the other party say that he was an ancient martial arts enthusiast, Xiao Chen could not say that he was also an ancient martial arts enthusiast, right? If he came up for an academic discussion, wouldn't he be stumped? Hee, so that's how it is. You spent a whole 4 years to be curious about this major. It seems that the 2 of you are really interested in this. Jia Muzhen was a little surprised and asked in surprise. Xiao Chen smiled and did not answer. He knew that his statement was a little hasty, but he could not find a more suitable reason at the moment. Actually, ancient martial arts is quite interesting. If you are interested in learning more, I can take some time to explain the introductory knowledge in this area. Jia Muzhen did not pursue this matter too much. Instead, he pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose and enthusiastically introduced the subject. In his opinion, perhaps these 2 people had impressive backgrounds. They were second-generation rich or something. They came to university for entertainment and did not have any requirements for their major. This kind of thing was very common, so Jia Muzhen did not find it strange. Okay, thank you very much. Xiao Chen smiled and nodded. His first impression of Jia Muzhen was quite good. After sitting down, he chatted with him for a while. Not long after, the classroom door was pushed open with a click. An old man who looked like a pedant walked in. After glancing at the students in the classroom, he walked to the podium. Hello, students. I am the instructor in charge of teaching ancient martial arts. I am also the only instructor in Lon City University who has the honor of being a tenured professor in the Department of Archaeology. Although the old man was over 60 years old, his legs were very agile. He came to the center of the podium in a few steps and introduced himself. Xiao Chen and the others were shocked. They did not expect the old man to have such a loud voice despite his thin body. Everyone quickly sat up straight and focused on the teacher on the podium. The old man nodded with satisfaction and continued, "My surname is Zhong. You can call me Professor Zhong or Sir Zhong. You can also call me Professor Zhong." Pfft! Xiao Chen almost spat out. He did not expect this Professor Zhong to be so fashionable. He did not look like an old man at all. In our ancient martial arts department, there are a total of 6 freshmen reporting this year, but now I have counted, there are only 5 people. As for where the other male student went, I don't want to know. After all, the class hasn't officially started yet, so I won't bother with him so much. Professor Zhong looked at the roster in his hand and knocked on the table casually. Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing looked at each other with a helpless expression. Although they knew that they had entered an unpopular department, it was too unpopular. There were only 6 people in the entire department. It was estimated that a row of tables could not be filled. The young miss was even more worried. Professor Zhong just said that the remaining student was also a male student? Then she was the only girl in this department. What would happen to the dormitory if that was the case? Professor Zhong paused, put his hand on the table and continued, "Next, you will go to the dormitory to rest first and then familiarize yourselves with the environment of Lon City University. After the official start of the semester, the school will arrange 10 days of military training and welcome party for the freshmen. I will tell you the specific time and content of the party when the time comes. Are there any other questions?" Xiao Chen and the other boys shook their heads. It was their first day meeting Professor Zhong, so they did not know what to ask. "Professor Zhong, Cheng Menjing plucked up the courage to speak but was interrupted by Professor Zhong. "I know what you want to ask. Since you are the only girl in this department, your dormitory will be together with the girls of other departments. When you go to the girls' dormitory later, ask the teacher in charge there and you will know." "Oh. Okay." Cheng Menjing was stunned and answered subconsciously. Then she heard Professor Zhong ask again, "Who else has a question?" Looking at the silent crowd, Professor Zhong shrugged and said, "Very good. I have already given you a chance to ask questions. Since none of you asked, don't come to me if you are caught unprepared. Dismissed." After saying that, he picked up the roster on the table, turned around, and walked out of the classroom. "I still have a question." Cheng Menjing muttered softly, her expression not looking too good. "Why is this old man in such a hurry? I haven't even finished asking my question. He's running away faster than a monkey." The boy who was reading and the aloof boy waited for Professor Zhong to leave. Without saying a word, they packed up and left the classroom. It seemed that they went to find their own dormitories. Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen looked at each other and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why is this Professor Zhong like an old urchin? He doesn't have the tone and magnanimity of an elder at all. It's just like the saying, the old should be arrogant, the young should be steady. "Xiao Yi, why didn't you ask where the girls' dormitory of the archaeology department is just now? Do you want me to look for it alone?" Cheng Menjing had nowhere to vent her anger, so she simply fired at Xiao Chen. "Professor Zhong has a weird temper. I just hesitated for a moment, and he actually ran away. He even said that I shouldn't look for him if I am caught unprepared. What kind of teacher is this? It's okay, I will go with you. I am quite familiar with the girls' dormitory. Xiao Chen had been there many times before. I will also go with you. I am not very familiar with the environment here. It just so happens that I can have a companion." Jia Muzhen continued with a smile. Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes at Xiao Chen. She originally wanted to ask him why he was so familiar with the girls' dormitory, and if he often went in and peeped at girls bathing. However, with Jia Muzhen by her side, she held back. Chapter 887. Xiaofan did not refuse. He could see that Jia Muzhen's character was not bad. Although he was more enthusiastic, he was still polite and didn't talk much. It would be best if he could become his roommate. The three of them dragged their bags and walked towards the dormitory. They did not receive much attention on the way. After all, Xiaofan and Jia Muzhen looked like loser young men, and Cheng Menjing's appearance was relatively ordinary. She was the kind of person who could not be found in the crowd, so no one paid attention to the three of them. When they arrived at the dormitory, Cheng Menjing realized that the boys' dormitory and the girls' dormitory were facing each other. No wonder Xiaofan said such strange things. Lancheng University was a relatively high-class university. The dormitories were all simple two-person rooms, and they were all divided according to their major. As expected, Xiaofan's wish came true. He and Jia Muzhen were indeed assigned to the same dormitory. However, Cheng Menjing was the only girl in the ancient martial arts major, so she could only be coordinated and arranged in the dormitory of other majors, as Professor Zhong had already said just now. Originally, Xiaofan wanted to find Professor Zhong to coordinate and see if he could arrange a separate room for Cheng Menjing, but considering what Professor Zhong had just said, he had to give up this idea. Besides, even if he wanted to find him, he didn't know where to find him. In desperation, Xiaofan could only find a tutor in charge of the girls' dormitory. After explaining the situation in detail to her, she happily took Cheng Menjing to arrange a dormitory. Lancheng University focused on science and engineering. There were more men's dormitories and fewer women's dormitories, so there were basically no vacancies. Even if there were single people living in, they were all people with backgrounds who could not be offended. Therefore, when the tutor in charge looked for them at the beginning, she was also confused and didn't know where to start. Fortunately, when she checked the situation of the dormitory, she suddenly received a phone call. The phone call was from the school, and she was ordered to arrange Cheng Menjing and Ling Qianyu in the same dormitory. It turned out that Lancheng University felt that it wouldn't be a problem for these two to live together since they both had connections with the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. It was also reasonable for them to live together, so they made such an arrangement. The female tutor finally heaved a sigh of relief. She hurriedly brought Cheng Menjing to Ling Qianyu's room, gave her the key, and left after saying a few words. Opening the door, Cheng Menjing saw that Ling Qianyu had yet to return from her summer vacation. She put away her luggage, rolled up her sleeves, and began to clean the room. Since no one had lived here for a long time, there was a lot of dust in the room. It took Cheng Menjing a whole hour to clean it up. Looking at the clean windows and table, she was about to take a hot shower when the door of the dormitory was suddenly pushed open. Who are you? Why are you in my dormitory? Ling Qianyu, who was standing at the door, was shocked and asked in surprise. Why would a girl suddenly appear in the room? No one had informed her before. Hello, my name is Cheng Yaoyao. I've just arrived at Lancheng University to report today. Since my department doesn't have an extra female dormitory, I've been arranged to live in the same dormitory as you. Please take care of me. Cheng Menjing smiled and said politely. Ah, I see. Hearing that it was arranged by the school, although Ling Qianyu was still a little unwilling, she didn't show it on her face. Instead, she said enthusiastically, Hello, I thought it was boring to live alone. Now that I have a companion, it's not bad. If you need any help, just ask me. Thank you. I still have many things to trouble Senior Qianyu in the future. Cheng Menjing was originally worried that she would be ignored, but she didn't expect to meet a considerate roommate. She was very happy and her tone became more intimate. From now on, we'll be living under the same roof. If there's any inconvenience, I hope Senior Qianyu can forgive me. Oh? You know my name? Ling Qianyu was a little surprised. Did this Cheng Yaoyao come prepared? The tutor who brought me here just told me. I just found out that you're called Ling Qianyu and you're 1 year older than me. Cheng Menjing nodded with a smile. Ling Qianyu made an "oh" sound and finally understood. She felt ashamed in her heart. I shouldn't have thought too badly of others. Seeing that Ling Qianyu didn't speak, Cheng Menjing took the initiative to invite her. Senior sister, it's already noon. Why don't we have lunch together? Junior sister will treat you. The reason why the miss was so close to Ling Qianyu was because after talking, she felt that this senior sister had a good temper. Although she was very beautiful, her personality wasn't as weird as other beauties like Yi Xiaoya. She should be a friend worth making, so she wanted to invite her to lunch together. Although her pocket money wasn't as much as before, after being extorted by Xiao Chen, her pocket money was still more than that of an ordinary university student. Moreover, the university cafeteria wasn't that expensive. The two girls couldn't eat much even if they stuffed themselves. After all, they would be staying together in the future. It wasn't a bad thing to build a good relationship in advance. How can that be? Since you called me senior sister, this meal is naturally on me. How can I let you spend money when you just entered the university? Ling Qianyu quickly waved her hand. The grudge in her heart was gradually dispelled. In fact, because Ling Qianyu had always lived alone, she felt very uncomfortable suddenly having another person in the dorm. One had to know that she usually liked to walk around in the room naked. She also had the habit of sleeping naked. Therefore, the arrival of Cheng Menjing made her feel very awkward for a moment. However, Ling Qianyu couldn't refuse. She couldn't use her grandfather's name to force the school to vacate a dorm for her, right? That would be too unreasonable. It was impossible for her to do that. However, what made her feel fortunate was that this Cheng Yaoyao in front of her, although her appearance was relatively ordinary, her attitude was polite. She looked like a well-educated and reasonable person. In the future, they should be able to get along well. She wouldn't have any conflicts with her. This. Cheng Menjing still wanted to decline. However, the phone on her suddenly rang. She smiled apologetically at Ling Qianyu. She took out her phone and found that it was Xiao Chen who called. She picked it up. Yao Yao, Jia Muzhen and I have settled down. Did you settle the dorm on your side? Xiao Chen asked on the other side of the phone. It has been settled. The school arranged a dorm for me. I live with a senior sister. Cheng Menjing nodded her head and replied. Oh, that's good. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and continued, how about this, I'll come to find you later. Jia Muzhen just said that he wanted to eat with me. I think it's about time. You should call that senior sister. Let's go together. It's my treat. There was a reason why Xiao Chen said this. Considering Miss Cheng's personality, he was afraid that this little girl might cause trouble for her senior sister in the future. So, it was better to build a good relationship with her first. Okay, then you guys come over now. I'll be in the female dorm. I'll go down with senior sister later. Cheng Menjing didn't hesitate and directly agreed. After putting down the phone, she told Ling Qianyu about her boyfriend wanting to treat her. She wanted to ask for her opinion. Ling Qianyu didn't refuse. She felt that since they would often meet in the future, there was no harm in getting to know each other now. The two of them went downstairs after a little tidying up. When they just walked out of the female dorm, they saw Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen standing not far away and chatting. Cheng Menjing greeted them and walked over with Ling Qianyu. Hello, senior sister. When Xiao Chen first saw Ling Qianyu, he was a little shocked. He didn't think that she was the Miss Roommate. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? But after thinking about it, he understood the school's arrangement. They must have thought that both of them had a relationship with the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, so they put them together. Ling Qianyu nodded and said, "Hello. I'm Yao Yao's roommate, Ling Qianyu." Xiaochen calmed down and extended his hand without batting an eyelid. "Nice to meet you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Qing Yao Yao's boyfriend, Xiaochen. In the future, please take care of our Yao Yao. Xiao Yi." Ling Qianyu repeated the name a few times. She felt that she had seen this guy before, but she couldn't remember where. She generously extended her hand and shook Xiaochen's hand. Then she smiled and said, "You're too polite. Actually, I'm quite happy to live with Yao Yao. Otherwise, it would be boring to live alone in an empty dorm." Regarding Ling Qianyu's temper, Xiaochen knew it like the back of his hand. Seeing that she actually pretended to be a good girl, he couldn't help but laugh. But in the end, he forcefully held back and didn't laugh out loud. That being said, since Cheng Menjing was living with Ling Qianyu, Xiaochen was a lot more relieved. At least he knew Ling Qianyu. Although her personality was a bit unreasonable, her character was good and she wasn't a bad person. "Hi, senior sister, hello. I'm Xiao Yi's roommate, Jia Muzhen. Please take care of me." Jia Muzhen was a bit nervous and stuttered. He had heard a lot about Ling Qianyu. She was the campus belle of Lancheng University. He didn't expect that he would have the opportunity to see her in person as soon as he entered the university. It was really exciting. Jia Muzhen originally wanted to learn from Xiaochen and extend his hand to shake the goddess's delicate hand. But after mustering up his courage for a long time, he didn't dare to extend his hand. "Hello." Ling Qianyu slightly smiled. She had seen this kind of situation too many times, so she didn't care too much about Jia Muzhen's reaction. "Well, since everyone knows each other, let's go eat," Xiaochen said and then led Jia Muzhen to the direction of the cafeteria. Ling Qianyu and Cheng Menjing followed behind them and chatted about some topics that girls were interested in. Xiao Yi. Jia Muzhen whispered on the side. "Huh? What's wrong?" Xiaochen looked at him in confusion. This guy has been secretly turning his head from time to time. Could it be that he fell in love with Ling Qianyu? Chapter 888. What's wrong with you? That Ling Qianyu is a great beauty. How come you don't seem to be moved at all? Could it be that there's something wrong with your physiology? Jia Muzhen didn't really fall in love. He also knew that it was impossible for him to have any relationship with Ling Qianyu. But such a beautiful woman, it was good to see a few more times. F***CKU. If there's something wrong with my physiology, why would I have a girlfriend? It's just because I've seen so many beautiful women that I've already cultivated to the point of immunity. Xiaochen shook his head disapprovingly. He thought to himself, the beauty in your eyes, even her breasts and buttocks have been seen by me. How could I be as thirsty as you? Hee. I've heard that there's a type of gays who cheat marriage. They look normal on the surface, but in fact, they like men in their hearts. Don't tell me you belong to this type of person. Jia Muzhen didn't believe Xiaochen's nonsense. He teased him with a funny face. He even deliberately stood a little further away from Xiaochen as if he was afraid. F***CK, a 24K pure gold 300% straight man like me, how can I cheat marriage? What are you thinking about in your head? Can you say something more nutritious? Xiaochen laughed and scolded. He found that there was something wrong with Jia Muzhen's brain circuit, so he didn't bother to talk to him anymore. After walking for a while, they arrived at the cafeteria. Because there were a lot of freshmen who came to report, and because it was mealtime, the first floor of the cafeteria was full. There were no empty seats at all. Xiaochen thought that since there were 4 of them eating, it was quite cost-effective to order dishes, so he led everyone to the second floor. However, What surprised Xiao Chen was that there were no empty seats on the second floor, and the private rooms here required a minimum of 1,000 yuan. After all, the cafeteria of the university was outsourced, and opening the door was also to make money. Xiao Chen originally wanted to bite the bullet and enter the private room to eat a good meal, but when he called the waiter, he found out that there was only one private room left, and it had been booked. This time, Xiao Chen was a little depressed. People say that a hero is stumped by a penny, but now a hero is stumped by a table. Huh? Wasn't this Jinyu? What a coincidence. We're really fated. Just when everyone was looking at each other, not knowing what to do, someone suddenly ran over from a table in the corner and said happily, "Jinyu, you're here to eat, right? You see, there are no seats left. Why don't you sit at my table? There's an empty seat." Xiao Chen took a closer look. Wasn't that Zheng Shiding? Who would have thought that he'd run into Lancheng University's cafeteria twice? What a coincidence. There's no need to trouble yourself. I came here with a few friends. We can just wait a little longer. Ling Qianyu rejected indifferently. The smile on her face had also disappeared. Clearly, she was very unhappy with Zheng Shiding's appearance. Oh? Who are they? Zheng Shiding turned around in surprise and saw that there were two men and a woman standing beside Ling Qianyu. However, they were all unfamiliar faces and he had never seen them before. Zheng Shiding couldn't be blamed for not paying attention to them. With Ling Qianyu around, everyone would subconsciously ignore the ordinary people around her. They could only blame Ling Qianyu for being too dazzling. "Hello, I'm senior sister Qianyu's roommate, Cheng Yaoyao. This is my boyfriend, Xiao Yi, and this is his roommate, Jia Muzhen." Cheng Menjing didn't quite understand the situation. She could only point at Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen respectively and introduce them. "We've just entered the university, so we're here for a meal. Welcome, welcome. Since we've met, it's a kind of fate. Instead of standing here and starving, why don't I be the host and treat everyone to a meal?" Zheng Shiding was especially enthusiastic. He looked around and pointed to the other side and said, "Isn't there an empty room over there? Let's go eat there." Without waiting for Cheng Menjing and the others to speak, Zheng Shiding directly called the waiter over with a forthright expression, "I want that room. Go and bring me one of the best and most expensive dishes, hurry up." The reason why Zheng Shiding volunteered to treat them to a meal was mainly to win over Cheng Menjing. Although Cheng Menjing's appearance wasn't that outstanding, she was Ling Qianyu's roommate. If he could make Cheng Menjing happy, she would help him put in a few good words to Ling Qianyu in private. Then, capturing Miss Ling's heart wouldn't be a dream anymore. "I'm sorry, sir. That room has already been reserved. Can you wait a little longer?" The waiter was also very helpless. He didn't expect business to be so good today. All the seats were full. F***ck your grandpa. It's almost past lunchtime, and I don't see anyone coming to this room. Could it be that it was reserved by a ghost? Are you messing with me? When Zheng Shiding was stopped by the waiter, he immediately felt a little embarrassed. He originally wanted to show off in front of everyone, but he didn't expect that he would be directly rejected. This made him very embarrassed, so his tone was very unfriendly. The waiter was in a difficult position. In their line of work, they naturally knew that some customers couldn't be offended. For example, Zheng Shiding in front of them was the young master of an aristocratic family in Lan City. Normally, they had to treat him like a big boss. However, the person who reserved the room today also had a powerful background. They couldn't afford to offend either side. What this and that? Stop wasting time. Can't you see that my friend is hungry? Hurry up and serve the dishes. Zheng Shiding waved his hand and glared at the waiter impatiently. Yo, young Master Zheng is quite arrogant, huh? This room was reserved by this young master. If you have any problems, come at me. Is it very satisfying to vent your anger on the waiter? Just when the waiter was in a dilemma, a gentle male voice suddenly sounded. Zheng Shiding turned his head and saw that it was his archenemy, Shui Gao, walking over. Behind him were two pretty girls. At this moment, Shui Gao was looking at him with a teasing gaze. Zheng Shiding became angry when he saw Shui Gao. Both of them were tyrants in Lan City University. However, because of their different temperaments, they never got along. Originally, they minded their own business, but recently, they had frequent conflicts. The reason was that the Zheng family and Shui family behind them were at loggerheads. Originally, the former was in the hotel and import and export trade business, while the latter was in the real estate business. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be related. However, the patriarchs of the two families had their eyes on a piece of land. In order to obtain the right to use that piece of land, the two families fought openly and covertly countless times. However, they were evenly divided, and no one was able to gain any advantage. That piece of land was still lying there. In the end, when the two families saw that there was no way to solve the problem, they could only choose to put the matter aside for now. On the surface, everything was calm, and they were busy with their own business. However, in the dark, both sides were looking for opportunities to destroy the other. I was wondering who was bragging so much. I didn't expect that it was young Master Shui who booked the private room. I didn't expect you to be in such a good mood. It's fine if you play with prostitutes outside the university, but you actually brought them to the university's cafeteria to eat. Should I say, is it better for you to sully the campus, or is it better for you to perform as an art? Zheng Shiding snorted lightly and said in a sarcastic tone. Shui Gao, who appeared to be gentle, virtuous, thrifty, elegant, and charming, was actually doing dirty things behind the scenes. Others might not know about it, but Zheng Shiding was very clear about it. Looking at the two girls behind Shui Gao, one of them was wearing very revealing clothes, and although the other looked relatively pure, he reckoned that she wasn't any better. According to Shui Gao's playful nature, Zheng Shiding concluded that the two girls behind him were prostitutes. However, he was puzzled as to why Shui Gao would bring them to the cafeteria to eat. Wasn't this a disgrace? However, these two girls were quite good-looking. He didn't know where Shui Gao found these two high-quality goods. Could it be that he wanted to bring them out to show off? Xiaofan originally stood at the side silently, but when he saw the two girls behind Shui Gao, he realized that they were actually Su Chuxia and Tian Saoring. Then, when he heard Zheng Shiding ridiculing them, he immediately felt a little unhappy. Hey! What did you say? Before Xiaofan could react, Tian Saoring couldn't hold it in anymore. She pointed at Zheng Shiding and scolded, "You bastard, how dare you insult Sister Saoring? You're the prostitute. No, you're the duck, your whole family are ducks." Tian Saoring was about to explode. Originally, she only wanted to eat with Su Chuxia, but the cafeteria was full. The two of them could only stand at the entrance and wait for seats. In the end, they were caught by Shui Gao. This guy coaxed and pestered them, wanting to treat them to a meal. He patted his chest and guaranteed that he had already booked a private room. Tian Saoring didn't know what was wrong with her. She actually wanted to set him up so that he would back off. After much effort, she finally persuaded Su Chuxia to go upstairs, but she didn't expect to be humiliated by this random guy. She was so unlucky. B*TCH. I think you're looking for death. Zheng Shiding had never been humiliated like this before. He was instantly infuriated. He rushed over and raised his hand to slap Tian Saoring. Some time ago, under the guidance of Shi Yuchuan, Zheng Shiding had been promoted to a Stage 4 Inner Force warrior. He thought it would be a piece of cake to teach a weak girl a lesson. However, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him and directly blocked his raised palm. "Young Master Zheng, I realize that you're quite capable. You actually hit a woman. you're quite skilled. Shui Gao narrowed his eyes and sneered. He shook off Zheng Shiding's hand and turned to Ling Qianyu with a faint smile. Qianyu, I advise you to stay away from young Master Zheng. His character is so bad that he might hit you one day. It doesn't matter if you're pretty or not. Xiao Chen took another step back. When he saw that Zheng Shiding was about to hit Tian Souring, he subconsciously wanted to rush out. However, just as he moved, he saw Shui Gao blocking his way. Only then did Xiao Chen stop. Chapter 889. Luckily, his movements were small, and everyone's attention was on Zheng Shiding and Tian Souring, so no one noticed him. You, don't slander me. Zheng Shiding's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly explained to Ling Qianyu, Qianyu, don't listen to that Shui guy's nonsense. I will definitely treat you well in the future, and I won't use violence. Don't worry. If you don't believe me, I can swear. Zheng Shiding, who was busy explaining, was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He cursed in his heart, that damn B*TCH must have colluded with Shui Gao. She purposely provoked me to hit him, and wanted me to embarrass myself in front of Ling Qianyu. I must find someone to teach that B*TCH a lesson. Zheng Shiding didn't think that if he hadn't mocked her as a prostitute, Tian Souring wouldn't have retorted. In his eyes, it was all her fault. Zheng Shiding, what nonsense are you talking about? I have nothing to do with you. I just want to have a meal with my classmates, can you not cause trouble? Ling Qianyu frowned, and her face was very unfriendly. She hated Zheng Shiding to death. This guy dared to spout nonsense in front of everyone in the cafeteria. If anyone really took it seriously and spread it, there would be trouble. Yes, yes, yes. Let's eat first. Zheng Shiding thought he had caught Ling Qianyu's main point, which was to hint that he shouldn't quarrel in public. He quickly wiped the beads of sweat off his forehead, and shouted to the waiter, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and open up the private room, and ask the chef to make some dishes. Don't dawdle, hurry up. Can't you see that we are all hungry? The waiter, who was standing dumbly at the side, suddenly came to his senses. He didn't dare to delay, and nodded repeatedly. He was just an employee, and he couldn't afford to offend anyone. He could only do as Zheng Shiding said, and turned around to leave. Wait. Shui Gao blocked the waiter's path, and said with a sullen face, what do you mean? I paid $1,000 as a deposit for this private room, how dare you transfer it to him without permission? Did you ask for my permission? Do you believe that I won't lodge a complaint against you? Damn it. Stop pretending to be a big-tailed wolf. Isn't it just 1,000 yuan? Zheng Shiding took out a stack of cash from his pocket and handed it to the waiter. He said casually, take it. Here's $5,000. Return that kid's deposit to him and pay him another $1,000 as compensation for his brain damage. The rest of it will be food money. As Zheng Shiding spoke, he pointed at Shui Gao with his chin and snorted contemptuously. Do you think I'm a beggar? I'll pay 10,000. This private room belongs to me. You have 1 minute to leave. At this moment, Shui Gao no longer cared about his image as an ice cream senior. He gnashed his teeth and roared. Would he be afraid of competing in terms of wealth? He and Zheng Shiding were both direct descendants of a large family in Lan City. Their families were strong and powerful, so they could spend as much money as they wanted. Most importantly, Shui Gao was also a stage 4 inner force martial artist. I'll pay 20,000. I'll pay 30,000. The two of them argued until their faces turned red. As the onlookers, Xiao Chen and the others stared at the two of them as if they were idiots. They must have not taken their medicine before going out. Ling Qianyu and Cheng Menjing looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. Then, they smiled at the same time. The two of them seemed to have become closer because of their common hatred for a common enemy. Su Chuxia lowered her head as if she wanted to stare at the floor of the cafeteria. On the other hand, Tian Suruan was looking around in boredom. She wanted to see if there were any good-looking guys in Lan City University's cafeteria. But she was sure that Xiao Qiangshui wasn't there, so she decided to forget about it. When her gaze landed on Jia Muzan's face, she couldn't help but be stunned. Jia Muzan felt Tian Suruan's gaze and looked over as well. Their eyes met. For some reason, Tian Suruan suddenly hid behind Su Chuxia and hid her face. Seeing that Tian Suruan wasn't looking at him anymore, Jia Muzan also retracted his gaze. However, he felt a little strange. That sexy beauty just now seemed rather familiar. Where had he seen her before? However, Jia Muzan quickly shook his head and denied his own thoughts. He had just arrived at Lan City University, so how could he have seen her before? Perhaps there was a certain tanned female star who looked very similar to Tian Suruan in the Japanese action movies he watched in the past. That was why he felt a sense of déjà vu. I say, young masters, we're still hungry. How about this, let's eat together. Anyway, the private room is big enough for so many people to sit in. Why don't we just use the money to eat? Zheng Shiding and Shui Gao were still raising the price. Xiao Chun couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up to stop them. The two of them finally stopped bidding. They felt that Xiao Chen's words made sense when they thought about it. After all, they were both descendants of aristocratic families with deep pockets. Who was short of money? If they continued bidding like this, it would be pointless even if the sky turned dark. Moreover, the purpose of the two of them bidding was to treat their goddess to a meal. At this moment, they finally realized that Ling Qianyu, Su Chuxia, and Tian Suruan all had ugly expressions on their faces. They seemed to be on the verge of exploding. What was the point of bidding then? Hurry up and eat. Making their goddess happy was the most important thing at hand. All right. For the sake of junior brother, this young master won't argue with you today. Zheng Shiding waved his hand and walked directly toward Ling Qianyu. He politely invited her and Cheng Menjing into the private room. Ling Qianyu couldn't be bothered to say anything more. Since Xiao Chun had come to mediate, she and Cheng Menjing didn't object. They walked toward the direction of the private room. Jia Muzan secretly gave Xiao Chun a thumbs up and followed. Humph. Shui Gao snorted coldly. This private room originally belonged to this young master. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll allocate some seats to you. After he finished speaking, he quickly beckoned Su Chuxia and Tian Suruan into the private room. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get a good seat if he was late. Su Chuxia originally wanted to reject him, but considering that there was really no other place to eat, she had no choice but to accept Shui Gao's invitation. However, the waitress was a little depressed. When Zheng Shiding and Shui Gao were bidding against each other, she was still hoping to earn more money. Originally, if the price was really raised, she would have gotten a lot of commission. In the end, she didn't even get a single cent. If she had known earlier, she would have agreed to Zheng Shi's 5,000 yuan. Waitress, come over here. I'll order. Xiao Qin stood at the door of the private room and called out to the waitress. The waitress came back to her senses and hurried over. She didn't have the life to become rich, so it was better for her to be a waitress. After everyone sat down in the private room, Xiao Qin walked in after ordering the dishes. He casually stood in front of the table and said, I've already ordered the dishes. The two young masters were very generous just now, but in order to show your sincerity and generosity, please take out all the cash you have on you. Otherwise, if you don't have money and want to act shamelessly after the meal, everyone will look down on you. Of course. Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding hurriedly nodded. How could they dare to say that they weren't sincere and generous? Moreover, when it was time to pay the bill, the two of them might fight again. It was better to put the money together now. The two of them dug into their pockets, and not only did they put all their money on the table, but they also asked the men behind them to take out their spare cash. Not long after, the table was filled with a thick stack of cash. Oh, it seems like the two young masters are very generous. Not bad, not bad. In order to prevent the two of you from going back on your words and withdrawing your investment, I'll take care of the money first. After dinner, I'll pay the bill. The students here can be the notary, is that okay? Xiao Chen's hands were very fast. Without waiting for the two of them to agree, he said as he put all the money on the table into his own pocket. Of course. Of course. Shuigao and Zheng Shiding were too embarrassed to object. Since they had already taken out the money, why would they care about who they put it in? Moreover, their goddesses were watching from the side. They definitely couldn't act too cowardly. Otherwise, how could they raise their heads in front of their goddesses in the future? The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth rose slightly. In his heart, he despised Shuigao and Zheng Shiding. These two idiots really want to save face and suffer. It seems like when I don't have money in the future, I can find another opportunity to cheat them. Not long after he put the money away, the waiters served the dishes one after another. After standing for so long, everyone was so hungry that their chests were sticking to their backs. No longer polite, they raised their chopsticks and attacked the dishes in front of them. Among them, Xiao Chen and Tian Suruan ate the most. They completely disregarded their table manners and gobbled down the food like hungry tigers. Junior Wuxia, after lunch, I'll show you around the campus, okay? Since you're new here, I'm sure you're not familiar with the environment of Lancheng University. I happen to have some time, so I'll be your tour guide. Shuigao put on a gentlemanly smile and volunteered to Su Wuxia. Based on Shuigao's judgment of girls, he felt that Su Wuxia was definitely not a gold digger. It was impossible to win a girl's heart with money. The only way to win her heart was to take it one step at a time and create an image of a gentle and considerate senior. As for Tian Suruan, it might be easier. All he had to do was treat her to a few good meals and buy her some luxurious items. Therefore, Shuigao pondered for a while and decided to start with the harder one. This. Just as Su Wuxia was considering how to decline, Tian Suruan suddenly spoke up, "Wuxia, Sister Suruan wants to eat that braised beef. Can you help me turn the dish over?" "Suruan, eat slowly. No one's fighting with you over it." Su Wuxia took the opportunity to change the topic. She glanced at Tian Suruan and reached out to turn the glass dish on the table. Su Wuxia watched as Tian Suruan nibbled on a fried chicken drumstick with her left hand and stuffed a piece of beef into her mouth with her right hand. She looked as if she hadn't eaten for days. Su Wuxia couldn't help but find it funny and annoying at the same time. Chapter 890. Why isn't anyone fighting with me? Look at that damn otaku across from me. He's eating even harder than I am. He's almost finished that plate of beef. If I don't turn around, I won't be able to eat anymore. Tian Suruan pointed at Xiao Chen and said angrily, "Hey! Who are you? Are you a pig? I haven't even eaten that plate of braised pork ribs. You're here to freeload yet you're so shameless. Sister Suruan really has to give it to you. Oh, you're here to freeload too, right? How dare you talk to me like that?" Xiao Chen's mouth was stuffed with food as he retorted in a muffled voice. He then grabbed a piece of braised pork ribs and started gnawing on it. He then pushed the plate and spun another plate of double-cooked pork in front of him. He picked up his chopsticks and started eating. You're pissing me off. You brat, how dare you snatch the food that Sister Suruan wants to eat? Tian Suruan was so angry that he spun the wheel with all his might. In the end, he heard a bang and the big bowl of hot and sour soup on the table was knocked over. It landed directly between Zheng Shiding's thighs. Ouch! Caught off guard, Zheng Shiding had no time to dodge. His lower body was almost cooked by the boiling hot soup, but he was too embarrassed to touch it with his hands. He could only stand up and wriggle unnaturally as he wailed in pain. Water! Quick, give me water! Hearing Zheng Shiding's pained cries, Xiao Chen, who was closest to him, put down the food in his hands. He picked up a pot of boiling water from the corner and rushed over. He then opened the lid and splashed the water all over Zheng Shiding's lower body. Ah! Zheng Shiding had already shaken off the soup on his pants. In the end, he was scalded by the boiling water and screamed in pain. He fell to the ground, clutching his lower body. His face was pale and twisted as he hissed and gasped. Brat! How dare you splash young Master Zheng with boiling water? Are you looking for death? On the other side, the monkey-like follower was shocked. He quickly ran over to help Zheng Shiding up and scolded Xiao Chen loudly. He said he wanted water. There was only a pot of water nearby, and I didn't know if it was boiling or cold water. The situation was so urgent, how could you blame me? Xiao Chen shrugged and said innocently. Never mind, never mind. Little brother Xiao did not do it on purpose. It's my fault for not being clear. Zheng Shiding said through gritted teeth. He was glad that he was a stage 4 inner force martial artist. Otherwise, his little brother would have been crippled. After being helped up by the pointy-mouthed, monkey-like underling, Zheng Shiding saw that his clothes were a complete mess and that a certain part of his body was still aching. It seemed that he would not be able to finish the meal, but he did not want to give up the opportunity to eat with his goddess, Ling Qianyu. He could only force a smile and said, You guys eat first, I'll go back and change my clothes before coming back. Although Shuigao was ignored by Su Chuxia, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. When he came in just now, he wanted to switch places with Zheng Shiding so that he could chat with Su Chuxia up close. Fortunately, he didn't do that. Otherwise, he would be the one in trouble. Ding dong. Ding dong. Looking at Zheng Shiding's back as he left the private room, Shuigao thought about asking Su Chuxia out again. However, before he could say anything, he suddenly heard the announcement from the school's broadcasting station. Dear students, we are now broadcasting an announcement. We are sorry to learn that our student Lu Renmao passed away early this morning due to a terminal illness. Although Lu Renmao knew that he was ill, he continued to study in the hospital. He is our role model for learning and our thirst for knowledge. In order to let everyone learn from Lu Renmao's spirit, the school has decided to organize a memorial ceremony. All students, please wear your school uniform, gather at the school gate at 2 p.m. sharp, and take a bus to the funeral home. If there are any special circumstances, please apply for leave from your tutor. Those who do not show up for no special reason will have 10 credits deducted. All class leaders, please inform each other. Again, after hearing the announcement, Shuigao was puzzled. Although the school would organize some activities every year that required group participation, it had never been so strict. This time, those who did not go would have their credits deducted. Wasn't they trying to kill themselves? As a hedonistic son of a rich family, Shuigao spent most of his time playing around and picking up girls. He rarely studied, so he did not have many credits. He only got his credits by asking people to make cheat sheets during exams. In order to maintain his image as senior Shuigao, he naturally would not violate the school's rules. Although he did not want to go, he was the class leader, so he had to go. Why is it so troublesome? Shuigao raised his wrist to look at his watch. It was already 1:30. He could only helplessly say, Chuxia, sour, I'm really sorry about today. I'm the class leader, and I have to organize activities for the students. I'll treat you guys to a meal another day. After saying that, Shuigao stood up and ran out without looking back. Anyway, all his money was with Xiao Chen, so paying the bill was none of his business. Since everyone is done eating, I'll go out and settle the bill. It'll be troublesome if I can't make it in time for the school activities. Seeing that it was almost time, Xiaofan left the private room with the money and went to the counter to pay the bill. Wuxia, wait for me at the entrance of the cafeteria. I'll be right back after I use the restroom. Tian Sour rolled her eyes and stood up. Without waiting for Su Wuxia's reply, she ran out behind Xiaofan. Yao Yao, I'm going back to the dormitory to change as well. You guys are freshmen, so you don't need to wear school uniforms. Let's meet outside the school gates. Ling Qianyu also needed to change, so she left first. Although the meal was not very enjoyable, Ling Qianyu did not mind. After all, she was going to be Cheng Yao Yao's roommate in the future. If she wanted to eat, there would be plenty of opportunities. The remaining 3 people in the private room looked at each other and smiled helplessly at the same time. They did not say much and simply exchanged a few words before leaving. Student, after the discount, the total cost is 2,000 yuan. This is the bill, please check it. The waiter handed over a bill and placed it in front of Xiaofan. Oh, there's no need to check it. There's no problem with the bill. Xiaofan waved his hand nonchalantly. He ordered 2,000 yuan and passed it to the waiter. Just as he was counting the rest of the money, he felt someone pat his shoulder. He turned around and saw that it was Tian Sour. Hey! This money should be at least half of Sister Sour's, right? Tian Sour stared at the thick stack of money in Xiaofan's hand. Her eyes were almost shining. Why should I give it to you? Xiaofan found it funny, but he asked seriously on the surface. He even showed a trace of doubt at the right time. Sister Sour was scolded. If it wasn't for Sister Sour, you wouldn't have been able to get so much money, right? Be sensible. I don't think you're stupid. You should know the rules, right? Tian Sour said casually. Oh, then I'll give you 1/10. Xiaofan said half-jokingly. After all, Tian Sour was not an outsider. In the past, he would have given all the money to her. However, he was in need of money now, so he could not be so generous. No way. Tian Sour shook her head and rejected. Sister Sour sacrificed so much. You should at least give me half to comfort my broken heart. Since you sound so pitiful, then I'll give you 1/3. No more than that, Xiaofan said with a smile. Then we'll both take a step back and give Sister Sour 2/5. No less than that, or Sister Sour won't let you off. Seeing that Xiaofan would not budge no matter what and his tone was firm, Tian Sour could only make what she thought was the biggest concession. All right. You're really a miser. Xiaofan smiled and shook his head. He counted the money and passed it to Tian Sour. What did you say? Tian Sour only cared about the money and did not listen carefully. She thought that Xiaofan was teasing her. Nothing. I said you're pretty, okay? Xiaofan said helplessly. This Tian Sour only knew how to stare at money. She was about to dig her way into the money. Humph. Don't think Sister Sour doesn't know that you want to pursue me, right? Let Big Sister Sour tell you, don't mention that you already have a girlfriend. Big Sister Sour also has a boyfriend. If you dare to be so cocky, I'll let him punch you to death, do you believe me? Tian Sour glared and waved her little fist. Oh, that's amazing. I believe you. Xiaofan shrugged and muttered in his heart, am I crazy? Kill me with a punch. Humph, at least you know what's good for you. Seeing that you're willing to pay, Sister Sour will let you see an enchanting back. When you go back, imagine your girlfriend to look like Sister Sour and make love to her. What a waste. Tian Sour kept the money and waved her hand. She swayed her hips and walked down the stairs. Her figure was as attractive as ever. The boys around her almost had a nosebleed. However, Xiaochen thought, Missy isn't any worse than you. It's just that her figure isn't as good as yours. If I were to do that with her, I wouldn't have imagined her to look like you, right? Young Master Zheng, do you have any extra uniforms? I don't think I can find mine. After sending Zheng Shiding to the parking lot, the monkey-like underling remembered the broadcast and asked weakly. Like hell I do. Who would have more of those ugly clothes? Think of a way yourself. I need to get a custom-made set quickly. Zheng Shiding said impatiently. He left the underling beside him and drove off in his sports car. A custom-made set? Where would we find the time to make a custom-made set? Can't we just borrow a set from someone else? I don't know what young Master Zheng is thinking. The underling shook his head in confusion. However, he did not dare to ask further and hurried to borrow the uniform. Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing walked out of the cafeteria and went straight to the school gate to gather. They were still freshmen and did not have uniforms. The school naturally would not force them to do so. Ling Qianyu returned to the dormitory and changed into her uniform before rushing to the school gate to meet up with Xiao Chen and the others. They got on the school bus and went to the nearby funeral parlor. Lancheng University's female uniform is quite nice. I thought it would be as old-fashioned as our Songning Second High School's uniform. I didn't expect it to be a fashionable sailor uniform. This is the first time I'm looking forward to wearing a school uniform, Cheng Menjing said enviously as she looked at Ling Qianyu's sailor uniform. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.